I've got blue souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs spoon. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make a man and some pressure make a gemstone. Try to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Naja boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's IGBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic, I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip, I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know, breaking status quo, reaping what I sow, artistry like Van Gogh. Get it from my mama hip, so thick that I need tempo. Personality, spicy body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, stay where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in, I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
checking shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Aslı.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Aslı.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running.
For what?
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to be back with you guys tonight. Thank you all so much for being patient with me. I think my trip caught up to me and I was dealing with some sinus issues. So I was just chugging away at that NyQuil, which I do not like. But it helped me, get some rest. And I was able to go over some of my footage. I have a really big issue with, first of all, I'm not a photographer or a videographer. So when I'm out there with my phone and I'm just trying to get everything, some of the time I thought I was recording, I wasn't. And that happens to me all the time. Like there'll be something really cool that happens at the ocean. I'll want to catch it on camera and I won't have it recording. I think I'm recording it, but it's not recording. So that's kind of what happened with a lot of it. But also, there was some really rough and rugged terrain. I even was talking about it in the chat with other people too, because I still have like areas on my hands and arms where like I got caught by a bramble or whatever those little picker bushes are, those little shits. Um, and so that like, and it was getting itchy because it like scabbed over and then I broke it open again. And so like, yeah, I mean, I still have some more wounds from the search because it's really rough out there. And then also just there was a lot of like debris and a lot of leaves and tree branches. They had a really big ice storm too, so it was like cracking all the branches, and a lot of people had storm damage. I know you guys are going through storms tonight, so I hope that you all are staying safe and, you know, just taking precautions, whatever they're telling you guys to do. I don't know if they have alarms going. Hello, Detroit Rock City. So good to see you. Thank you for being here. You guys have the kindest things to say in the comments. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Little Miss Sharon, for hitting the like button and for being here too. So good to see you and for playing the mullet card. I love it. I wish they would show it. I hope you don't work too hard, Little Miss Sharon. And thank you, Chuchi, for always putting in our disclaimers every night. I really appreciate it. We don't like any dark triads. We're old ladies in here, 21 and over, and gentlemen. So I appreciate that so much. Hey, Ice Bama, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. And Gail is here. Hello, Gail. Thank you so much for being here. And that's right, we are Sebastian and Devlin's Army. I'm also working on a live for Devlin. There's just not any new information other than that the sheriff's office is no longer thinking he skipped out for court. They're thinking 50-50, they're foul play or you know, maybe that he hurt himself while he was walking, or maybe got hit by a car, perhaps something like that. But I'd like to go over some alternate theories. We're still waiting on well, not a paternity test. We would need one of those as well. But we're waiting on a lie detector test that's supposed to be administered by Ionia County Sheriff's Office at the request of Tamara, Sabrina, and Will, who were the last ones living with Devlin when he went missing. So we're still waiting on that too. I'm going to have to check on Tammy and see how she's doing. And thank you, Chuchi, for all the multicolored hearts in here. Also, big prayers out for Middle E, right? Cole Harris, our friend, Mr. and Mrs. E's son. I will be posting the meal train in the chat as well as for Brandy Vaughn. I've also been keeping up with Monkey's case, and they're in court right now. So I've been really following the local gal that's been working that case. Oh gosh, I don't want to say it wrong. PMW, I believe it is, or PWM. Either way, she's amazing. She's been covering the case, and I've been following her closely. Hello, Witchy Mama. So good to see you, Witchy. Thank you so much. And Thomas Randall is here. Hey, Thomas Randall. And Trishy, so good to see you, Trishy. Trishy, I've been meaning to text you, and I haven't had a chance to, but I've been thinking about you, so I'm so glad you're here. And Bo is here. Yes, long time no see. I know. Well, and it was a really nice to get done, even though I was, like I said, I was feeling like, you know, poop. But I was also able to kind of just watch the videos. Maybe that's why I put the mellow, like folky music in there. But that's kind of the feeling I get about Tennessee, that music really kind of rings true to me. There's so many good people there, and it's such a pretty area. You know, the water was crystal clear, even though people were teasing me. They're like, you don't want to swim in that water, because we were getting hot and while we were searching and stuff like that. But it's just a really beautiful place, and I just hate to think that there's so much bad going on. But I did want to go over some research that I did on Brandon Carter, because I think we've all been talking about the dirty sheriff, and I think he gets all the glory, and I don't think that it should all be put on him only, right? He's supposed to be the lead detective, but he's a rookie, right? We're going to roast a rookie tonight because I don't think he's qualified. I don't see how he could be qualified. He has no experience whatsoever. But we're going to get into that and what it takes what the credentials are, what they're looking for. They told Seth to fill out an application. I heard that with my own 2 ears. You want to fill out an application? Not necessarily. Why would I want to be with you, rotten apples? That's what I would have said. Hey, my PTSD, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Aw, thank you so much. Hey, Kylie Ray, good to see you guys. So good to see you. Thank you all for coming in. And I'll just get through chat really, really quick. Aw, thanks, Trishy. Hey, Valley Gal. Good to see you. And our friend Shadow is here. Good to see you, Shadow. And let's see here. Oh, I also wanted to shout out to Paige because Paige sent me a $2 super, like a thank you on a video. And when I first started making videos, somebody sent me that. But with YouTube, you have to make at least $100 for the month for them to give it to you. And so, but I was so grateful for it back then. And it reminded me, which was really sweet. So again, thank you, Paige, for doing that. That really made my day. So I love bringing in comparisons, and I love putting together videos where I'm kind of showing you guys one thing and then I'll put something in there to support it, or we'll do a compare and contrast on it. Those are my favorite videos to do, and they do really, really well. I think you all enjoy them too, but it's just really putting it into one central location where we can see all of it before us, right? It's all in one spot, because there's times where we'll be watching something, like when I watched Duchess's fake ass apology the other day. I was watching that, and she said, if you don't, excuse my language, but you know my language is always needing to be excused. So who am I kidding? But she said, if you don't feed me, fuck me, or finance me, then you don't get to, tell me what to do in my life. Like, whatever, I'll do what I want, right? But that was something that the Proudfoot said. Well, that's something that Chris Proudfoot said on Smiley's, right? He said, oh, excuse my French, ma'am, but if you don't feed me, fuck me, or finance me, I mean, it was disgusting, right? But that's her boy. That's her boy, and that's how they handle stuff. Really, really gross. So, but when we think about that, it's always nice to have it right there, right? Because a lot of people were mentioning that. I shared out a video by 5D, and I saw people in the comments were like, that's what Chris said to Smiley. That's what Chris said. She quoted Chris, right? Because birds of a feather, right? So there's that. But I like to do that for you guys so you can see exactly, and have it right there. So I did a couple of those videos as well. I did the one with Mr. and Mrs. E when they're talking about the CPS reports. I think that is a key time that we need to keep pushing on, right? Because that's the most concern that I have ever gotten from any of you guys is, why have they not been charged with child abuse yet? And I'm like, I don't know, because there's all of this proof, there's all of this evidence, right? And Terry Bowersox, prove it, prove it, prove it, Yeah, well, there's the proof right there. There were 4 CPS reports open, right? And then a 5th one from either the end of January or the beginning of February, but Seth doesn't know exactly because he hasn't received that report because it's still open. And so I saw this 2019 expose that was done on the news, and it was in order, well, I'll just say they did a study or an investigation, and 169 children had been killed in 2019 alone because of abuse and neglect. 169 in 1 year, right? And some of the cases were still open. And so it reminded me of what Seth is going through, that the case is still open through CPS. So that means that they don't have to give us any information, and surely they don't have to give his father any information. Because allegedly, when Seth went and got the lawyer in order to get the first 4 CPS, well, he went only to get 1. He thought there was only 1 CPS report. He ended up getting 4. He was slapped with 4 CPS reports that had happened in the Proudfoot residence over a 1.5 year period of time. starting in 2022, and then going on, right? The end of 2022, I believe it was. And so we're gonna get into that timeline, and I'm gonna make a more in-depth timeline of what we know, right? It's all information that's been out there, but there's so much that comes out that we don't really get a chance to focus in where we need to. And I think that a lot of the time it detours us or distracts us from what we should really be focusing on, which is the last couple months before Sebastian just poof disappeared, went missing, right? Because he didn't just disappear. He didn't go missing. He's somewhere. He's not lost, or we would have found him by now, right? They did a 4-mile radius around his home over and over and over again. So that's what we're going to be examining tonight. And Cece, I'm always praying for you, girlfriend. And please pray for our friend Cece. She's going through a lot, and we definitely got your back here, Cece. So thank you for being here. And again, I hope I can make you laugh a little bit. Just made me think of, will the real, because there's been a lot of people out there that has said this is Brandon Carter, and when you do a Google search, there's very little about Brandon Carter, right? So I'm not throwing shade at anybody who got the wrong guy. I'm just saying, will the real one please stand up and speak? Because I feel like it's really weird that Brandon Carter has never spoke about Sebastian's case, and he's the lead detective. Why are we throwing so much, shade and heat on the sheriff? Oh, wait a minute. He always takes it upon himself to be the one that's like the spokesperson. And there's a couple of things I want to show you all about that as well. Because even though Brandon Carter has been saying that he's the lead detective, that's not what the website says. That's not what their official information is putting out. So we'll take a look. And thank you, Witchy, for always dropping those. Also, guys, if you have not been able to get over to change.org, please sign the petition for Haley's Law, for the pink alert. It is going to bring Chester Cheetah, right? I'm going to be careful because we're going to go over some tough subjects tonight anyway. But the Chester Cheetahs of the world, yeah, the molesters. There's going to be predator training in schools so kids can recognize if they're being groomed online. I think it's so important. I don't know why we've never thought to do it before and keep up with technology. It's the reality of where we live and what the time we live in, right? And kids are being accosted on apps that are made for them, that they're just innocently playing games, and then someone swoops in, right? And maybe they're not getting attention at home, but that's not a reason for somebody to take advantage, right? And that's not the parent's fault always. Sometimes parents are single parents and they're working, and you got this rotten piece of crap who's trying to insert himself into the child's life, and they have no business there, like Arctic Fox, right? So forget me not. It's so good to see you. And we did go over that, guys. We're not going to continue on with that because I would rather focus on Haley's Law and why it's important. If we need to use him as an example, we'll exploit him a little bit. But until then, we don't need to talk about his creepiness. Thank you, Chuchi. Cece. Sorry, guys. I'm so behind in chat here. Hey, Sybil is here. Good to see you, hon. Thanks for being here. Anne came in the other night. She wasn't feeling too good, Cece, and she just came in and said hello. But that was Thursday night because I was out Friday and Saturday. So, yay, Trishy. I'm so glad you're here too. I am so glad you're here too. Hey, Sasha. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. And Janet is here. God bless you and be safe all. Good morning. Good morning, Janet. Thanks for being here. The county around the area don't even arrest the sickos caught on pedo poachers like Alex. He said on there, oh, I know, Kylie Ray. And then right before I went live, right when I finished up this video, I was scrolling through YouTube, and Chronicles of the Shady posted another police officer in Tennessee who was just arrested, and he's sitting in the jail where he works, but he's a prisoner there or being held on $75,000 bond. Because he was engaging in corn activity and child exploitation materials, right? I'm not calling it child porn. That's not what it is. Mm-mm. No, it's exploitation. It's anything but consensual, in my opinion. I couldn't even imagine working in that dump or working with people that don't even know what the word protocol means. Way too fancy for my blood. Sasha, I know. What about the girlfriend of the detective who blabbed on TikTok? That's not sus at all, or incentive of smiley lack of professionalism, etc. Insert sarcasm. I do remember that. And actually, when I was researching Brandon Carter, the live that you're talking about came up. It sure did, Trishy, and so I listened a bit, and, I mean, I think there's been a lot of that, where people were trying to get information, and then also, I mean, I don't guess those people are probably still boyfriend and girlfriend after that. I don't understand why anyone hadn't realized that there were not a level that can be fugged with. It's becoming annoying, and it brings new meaning to the phrase. Do these people know who they're freaking? Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I agree with you, Sasha, but I think that they've gotten away with it for so long, and there's a lot of issues. The people are sick and tired of these officials that are supposed to be elected in, but they're running unopposed. That is a really big concern that I've also heard from locals. Because I ask locals how they feel because that's their area, that's their town, right? And some of them grew up there, and I mean, like I said, it's a nice area, and so you would think there wouldn't be these types of issues. We always think they're kind of in you know just bad areas, right? And I mean, again, I don't want to bash where anybody lives or anything like that, but I mean, when you look around that area, the people have money, so it's very dark. Just thinking about what all they could be involved in. Yeah, she shouldn't have said anything. I agree. I agree, Detroit. It was bad. It was more or less just everybody being like, "Oh, it's okay. You didn't know." Um So, hey, Brenda Calvert, last CPS report right before CP went to Memphis. Right. And I mean, I think that's why everybody just assumes that maybe they left Sebastian in the household as long as Katie said that Chris would leave, right? Because according to what we heard, mostly the CPS reports were having to do with what Chris was doing. But CPS was saying, Katie, you have a responsibility as a mom to take him out of here, right? She had it's not like she didn't have the money, because sometimes people do, but I think that maybe they were looking at their case by case, or um, the Proudfoot residents as a whole, and being like, well, Katie, you do have a job, right? You have qualifications, you can get a job anywhere. That's the big difference between a lot of people too on these streets, right? Because some of us can go out there and get a job because we have a full ass resume, right? And we have qualifications. Some people don't have that, and especially if you're a single mom, or if you're going to be a single mom because you're married and your husband makes more than you do, or say you're a stay-at-home mom, that's when CPS isn't going to, I think, necessarily blame you. But when they come to someone like Katie and says, hey, girl, you need to buck up, buttercup, right? Because you can get out of here. You just need to make that step. You have to do that. And so I think that's why they were putting pressure on Katie, because of that, because there's some women who don't have that. They are financially abused also, and they don't have a way to get out because they can't afford to, you know and a lot of times abusers will get you fired from your job and things of that nature because they don't want you working. Hello, Cinderella, good to see you. Because that's a part of the control and the financial abuse tactic. So yeah, yeah. So there was a news report, 169 children who were unalived in Tennessee in 2019 who were also tied to open CPS cases. Yeah, they were in the system. Yeah. All of the kids were in the system. Some of the cases were closed, and then some of them were open still to that day that they were talking about it. That news cast came out in like 2020, right? They were looking at the year prior to get that data, right? To look back. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to play some of that as well because I have a lot of reading to do on that. Hey, IML, good to see you. I have a lot of reading to do on that with you guys. So let me play the one that I started yesterday because there's a little bit in there to listen to, and also I want you guys to hear about the CPS cases. And I just stumbled upon that because I was doing some research, and I'm like, oh my gosh! So I put it in the Discord right away and told everyone, I'm researching, but I'm under the weather, but I'm going to be researching, and I found this, and I'm like, oh my goodness! So I wanted to make a video because I'm working on another one. So I just incorporated this into the other video that I was already working on for you guys because I wanted to kind of shorten the one with Tony and the E's and make it more streamlined, but then it just pertained to this CPS, debauchery, in my opinion. Hey, Kylie's Nail Candy, good to see you. So, yeah, let's do that. And oops, sorry guys. Sorry about that. I wanted to play the other one. Sorry about that. Hold on. We are going to play that other one. Sorry, it just makes me laugh with the will the real Brandon Carter please stand up? Because there's been so many people out there that has been saying he's, this man. And then when you look it up, you also see this other man that looks just like he could be that man, so but we definitely got the right guy. So, yeah, here we go. This is it. Okay, so the horrors of DCS in Tennessee, they do call it DCS. Another thing I want to preface too, because this is going to be some of Chris Proudfoot talking about the reports that were on him, but many people will refer to DCFS or DCS as CPS, right? Which leaves a lot of room for Mr. Semantics, right, Mr. Chris, to say, oh, well, you didn't ask me about DFS, you asked me about CPS, things like that, right? So just to be clear, we are talking about Department of Children's Services in Tennessee, and this is a 2019 record of that. So I'm just going to play this for you guys now.
Child death numbers in 2019. New data from the Department of Children's Services in Tennessee shows the state reviewed 169 cases last year, and many allege child abuse as the cause. The state says all 169 cases had some type of DCS involvement at some point. Several of them are closed cases, but many remain open. 6 of those deaths happened while the child was in state custody.
It just makes me want to cry because, I know that there's so many kids out there that, they are suffering.
As reporting child abuse can mean life or death.
We're familiar with some of these DCS reports that have been talked about over and over again. I think it's important for your audience to know that over the last 2 years, there's been 5 different DCS reports that were filed.
Okay, so 5 different reports that were filed, and I just added in, now this is Mr. and Mrs. E's Crime Cast, and I just put over top some of the comments that Robin Rogers had put out in the beginning. One of them reads, shame on Chris Proudfoot and shame on Cluminante, who reportedly speaks with him daily. How dare you make a mockery of my grandson's disappearance? But we all know how you really feel about Sebastian and how you treated him. CPS records don't lie. And Katie, you know exactly what happened to Sebastian. Your smart mouth husband said so early on in the investigation. The longer this goes on, the worse the outcome for you. We will find him. Well said. Right? So then we find out there's 5, right? Because he admitted in the beginning, Chris admitted to Smiley, yes, there's a CPS report. But then he also says that they came back to the house, and we're going to watch that in a little bit here. But again, I just wanted to read what Robin had wrote.
Those reports started in 22.
So did you say 5, Tony?
Correct.
Okay.
Are these all in the Proudfoot home?
Correct.
Okay,
Now,
I don't think I've ever heard that number before.
So what I can tell you, obviously, we are not allowed to discuss the content of those reports.
Right.
I can tell you that whether they're in one parent's name or the other step parent's name, the allegations are consistently against the step parent.
Okay, so again, Tony says the allegations are consistently against the step parent. That would be Stepfoot for anybody that's, wondering who.
So you can have a DCS report that's filed that may be in the mom's name, but it may be regarding the environment that she is allowing her child to be in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you discipline him since he, how did you discipline?
Sebastian in general?
Yeah.
Well, that depends. The punishment has to fit the crime, so to speak.
Yeah, we like to remember that, Chris. The punishment has to fit the crime. Okay.
I'll give you an example. Cleaning his room.
Mm-hmm.
And people are going to make me sound like I'm so horrible, but I promise you, folks, you try this with your kids one time, and you won't ever have a problem with this again. So if you tell them to clean their room, and they go.
Well, first of all, he's not your child, Chris. He's supposed to be your stepchild, and you're not the one that gets to dictate what happens, right? His mom should be the one to discipline him, especially because you're horrible at it and you're giving parenting advice when you have a missing child. I mean, only a narcissist would do that.
Go in there and they clean their room. Well, they say come out, well, it's clean. And you go in there and you go to check their room and the room's not clean. Okay. Thought I told you to clean this room. You told us the room is clean, did you not? Well, yes, sir. Okay. Now I'm going to clean your room. And you know exactly what that means. I go in and I go grab a trash bag. I walk back in that bedroom. If it's on the floor and it's not supposed to be on the floor, it's not picked up and put in the right places, goes in the trash bag. If it's not important enough for you to take care of and pick up, I'll take care of it for you. Throw in the trash bag. Tie it up. I've done this to him twice. One time, Mom talked me out of it. The other time, Sebastian.
All right, guys, and I just want to point out that he's admitting here, Chris is admitting that Katie told him, no, you're not going to do that to my son. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not, sticking up for Katie by any means. She obviously stuck around for it and allowed for him to continue on with this, and he's going to describe it in a moment. But at least she was trying to tell him no. It's a horrible struggle when you're dealing with a narcissist and their parenting style is never correct because they are all about their ego. You have to put your ego away, especially with kids, especially with an autistic child. Exactly. Thomas Randall says you don't do that to an autistic child, Mr. Chris. No, we do not, because they learn differently, right? And again, it is a form of abuse, right? As subtle as it may seem. or as subtle as it may be, is the psychological abuse at the very least. Lover Girl, so good to see you. Speaking of the punishment fitting the crime, does anyone else remember when Chris and Katie were asked what they like to happen to whoever kidnapped Sebastian, and they all got tongue-tied? Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, that I do remember that, and it's absolutely a sign of guilt, right? Because the first thing you usually would say was, "I hope, you know, somebody gets to them first, right before I do. Don't let me find out who did it first." Kind of a thing, right? Because it's just an instinct to protect. So Lisa Hunt, he sure does. He sure does. Hey, Dr. Pepper Princess. Yeah, he sure does. He gives me anxiety too. It's a huge, Chris is a walking trigger warning. He needs a yellow T-shirt on with a caution sign to wear at all times. That should be his punishment. Part of his punishment.
And here's the bag. Go put it in the trash can. And then you're going to take the trash can to the street. And after that, Sebastian, did you clean your room? Well, your mom told you to clean your room. Did you clean the room? Yes or no? Well, yes, sir. Is it clean the way it's supposed to be? Well, no, sir. Then I suggest you go back in there and clean it, or I'm coming in there in the next 10 minutes and I'm cleaning. Yes, sir. Hauls butt to that bedroom, and by God, that room is clean the way it's supposed to be. Now, it sounds crazy, but I promise you try it with your kids, man, your kids will be like, oh my God, they ain't kidding. It works amazing.
Do you feel like that he was ever a burden at all on you or your relationship, either one of you?
Was my stepson a burden in my marriage?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, so Smiley asked a legitimate question after hearing that, right? Was Sebastian ever a burden in your marriage? And then he repeats the question back to her, right? And then Katie waits until he answers for her to answer, and you can barely hear her. She says, no. Bull crap. I think that speaks to motive. Maybe that's part of what the police were asking for from creators. Maybe this is what they were asking Smiley for, this piece right here, because I think this speaks to motive.
So let's go back to the first of these DCS reports was filed in 22. So fast forward to 23, which would have been, let's say, a year ago at this time. Katie and Chris were actually trying to get Seth to take Sebastian a year before everybody knew that the plan was for him to go to live with Seth. So you look at that in October of 22, they had tried to get Seth to take Sebastian then. This is not something that a lot of people know. Well,
I have not heard this, no.
What they're talking about when they say that things could not get in order for him to get Sebastian, it had nothing to do with his home. It had to do with the fact that they wanted him to take Sebastian in the fall of 22. And
October of 2022 is when they started saying that they didn't want Sebastian in the home. They wanted Seth to take Sebastian, right? That is a long time for things to bubble up and boil over, in my opinion. Talk about pressure.
And he had tried to get signed up for the online program with Clarksville schools, and there was a waiting list, and he could not get approved. So he had a conversation with Chris and Katie and told them that he really thought that it would be smart for them to continue to let him finish out the school year and not move him to another physical school in the middle of the year. So that's what happened. He stayed in his, stayed at the school he was at for the remainder of 22 and part of 23. So fast forward to November of 23, we know that there were more DCS reports filed in that month. And we know that on or about the time those DCS reports were filed, Seth Rogers received a call from Chris and Katie that they wanted to put Sebastian in a behavioral center. Basically, you can call it a boys' home. I don't like to call it that. I like to call it a behavioral center. They were having problems with Sebastian at home. They were having problems with Sebastian at school. They were kind of at their wits' end with him. According to Seth, they did not have a lot of patience with him, which is why they had a lot of problems that Seth did not have when he was with Seth. So Seth asked Chris and Katie to send him the name of the organization that they were trying to send him to. They sent him the name. The name of that organization was Bledsoe Youth Academy in Gallatin, Tennessee. That was in November of 23. Seth does research on that specific center. And according to Seth, there had been 5 or 6 childhood deaths associated with that facility. So when he found that out, he reached out to Chris and Katie again by phone, let them know that under no circumstances was his son going to that facility, and gave them the reason. So they in turn told Seth that if he could find another behavioral facility that he liked better or that he thought was a safer place for Sebastian, they would allow, they would consider that. They did some research, figured out that those facilities were between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. They decided it wasn't in the cards for the blended family together to be able to pay for that. So that's when they went back to, well, when this school year's over, he's coming to live with you, which would have been in May. Which, of course, Seth said, fantastic.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to go back to Clarksville, and I'm going to find out if he is ready to be approved for that online school. Well, in a matter of a week, Seth found out that Sebastian's name had come up, which would have been the second week of December.
Okay, so that's the reason why it was taking a little while to get Sebastian to go and live with his dad, which I'm sure his dad was thinking, which I can't speak for Seth, but I'm sure he was thinking, well, let me get him into this school. It's not like he's in a dire position, right? He's living with his mom. So you would think she would be taking care of him like she should be, right? So it's a very precarious situation to have been in. You guys are asking great questions. So Trishy says, Lady Freedom, can you share where the CPS reports were initiated from? I don't know where they were initiated from, only based on what Chris and Katie have said. And Tony goes into it a little bit, but I believe the school were the ones that were calling, as well as the neighbors, as far as I know. I could be off on that, but then also Detroit brings up a good question and a good point. So CPS reports in California and New Mexico. So there were CPS reports in New Mexico, right, pertaining to Chris's daughter, Faith, with Nina, his ex-wife. One of them, right, because he's been married 5 times total. Now, the CPS reports, excuse me, in California, I would imagine there would be one. Obviously we don't get to see those because you would need to get a lawyer in order to get your hands on those, and only a parent can do that. You can't, to the best of my knowledge, get those without having representation. And that's because, unfortunately, CPS doesn't want to be held accountable for what happens to children in their care, in my opinion. It's a really major problem, but I would imagine Detroit, yeah, I mean, in California, because of what happened in their house, right, to Sebastian, and then also as it pertains to Sebastian's sister Faith. Um, yeah, it's just so sad, you know. Um, oh, I'm so sorry, Thomas. Yeah. Um, gosh, it's so horrible when that kind of stuff happens because I mean, it really puts you into a really bad spot, especially when you have kids, you know? And that's why I don't ever like to victim blame people. And that's why I think that CPS was probably getting on to Katie because they knew she could get out and it wasn't a situation where I think she was being abused, but even worse, Sebastian was the subject of ridicule mostly, right? And then people weren't calling, on, you know, the neighbors weren't calling the police necessarily on Katie and Chris, right? Because they were fighting too much. People were calling concerned about Sebastian because he was being mistreated by Chris. That's the best of my knowledge, and that's the best way that I can interpret, you know, what Tony's saying, without having seen the records myself. Um, you know, because I have not. Yeah, Cece, do any of us know what this bad behavior consisted of? Just 14 to 15-year-old boy stuff or issues worse than that? I mean, I think that they were trying to make it seem like Sebastian had worse issues. I think there were a lot of issues, in my opinion, that were created by Seth and Katie's environment because, as we remember, Seth was not having that issue with Sebastian. And without embarrassing Sebastian and showing you guys, but you can go look at pictures yourself because I'm not going to do that comparison. I don't think it's fair. But I do think it's worth bringing up and for you all to do your own research. If you look at the picture where Sebastian is at his birthday party, it's his 15th birthday party, and you can tell that he's wearing a pull up. If you look at the Texas Roadhouse, he's not. So he got over that issue very quickly because, in my opinion, Chris wasn't there. And obviously he wasn't having that issue because at Seth's house because Chris wasn't there. That's the way that I can best explain my stance on this, right? Because there's clearly issues, and a lot of us know that, especially from trauma or just from watching these cases and learning about these cases, that when there's bedwetting issues and you're a fully potty trained adult, then that usually means that you're being abused. It could be physical, it could be psychological. It's mostly always an SA situation. In my humble opinion, I'm not a doctor, but I know trauma when I see it. And if we think about that comparison without having to again embarrass Sebastian further, I think it speaks volumes that he wasn't having that issue when Chris wasn't around. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, Cheryl, because I mean, I only looked up the stipulations for obtaining those records in Tennessee. So I'm not sure. Marion says, in my opinion, it was Chris and Katie's behavior that was Sebastian's problem. I believe that too. Good to see you, Marion. Yeah, I think so too. I think it that had a big part to do with it. It's the blame Sebastian theory, but he wasn't the problem. You know, he's a kid. He's going to have challenges that come along with the rare chromosome deletion syndrome that he had, as well as the autism spectrum disorder. But again, that's up to the parents to help him through that. And if there weren't any issues at Seth's, then there shouldn't have been those types of issues because those are serious issues. Those aren't just, oh, I grounded him from the phone and he snuck another one. I mean, that kind of stuff is to be expected. You got to watch him constantly. You got to snoop on him constantly, because they find ways around it, especially as a teenager, because they're asserting their independence at that time. I believe Sebastian was asserting his independence at that time, and I think he was also realizing that he was living in turmoil, and he was sharing that with his grandma, and he was sharing that with people that he thought he can trust, um, which is sad to think about because it had to be very lonely and stressful. Witchy Mama says DCS CPS should require to notify the other parent regardless of what they think is unfounded or not, in my opinion. I believe that too, Witchy, and I am so surprised that Seth was never notified about any of this. I mean, he had to hear about it on Smiley's podcast, and he's probably sitting there thinking, what the hell? I mean, that's what I would be thinking. I'd be thinking, what the hell? Lover Girl says CC, CP, and KP have made it seem like he had ODD, right? Oppositional defiant disorder, but I don't believe anything they say. It's clear they've been carefully crafting a narrative about Sebastian for years to explain their abuse, in my opinion. I think that's spot on, Lover Girl. I do. I always remember this documentary, and I can't remember the little girl's name in it, but they did a study on her when she was little, and they labeled her with ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, and then come to find out she was being horrifically abused, and that's why she was oppositionally defiant, right? And it just, oh gosh, it's like a whole nother subject, a whole nother live, because it's it is a mask for abuse, in my opinion. Label the kids with some kind of freaky crap, and over medicate them, and don't even think about how they're feeling or what they're reacting to in their environment. So yeah, that's why we were at Drake's Creek again, Sasha, is because of those big tunnels. Yeah, yes ma'am, that's why we were there. Sorry guys, I'm still a little stuffy. Was Seth still living in California when that happened to Sebastian? Yeah, they were all living in California. I believe they were still stationed there. So, apparently they didn't want to do anything about it because of the child's age, because the child was a minor as well. So, that's right. She's a warrior, Thomas. That's right. And a survivor. Yeah, absolutely. Aw, thanks, lover girl. Yeah, no, that you just made such great points. Hey, Shauna, good to see you, darling. Thanks for being here. Hello, Cheryl. Cheryl says, I agree, Lady Freedom, 100%. Oh, hey, Seth. Thanks for being here. Sorry, I'm behind in chat as per usual. The waiting list for Clarksville program for homeschooling is long, and there's only a limited spaces available, not to mention the added available programs connected with Austin Pay University. Okay, thanks, Seth. Yeah, because I mean, I know that he was on a wait list for a long time, you know. So who does, Thomas? She's very, very intuitive, right? Most people can't handle Chris. So, yeah, no, I know that, Seth. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I think that just shows a lot of respect for Sebastian as well, because there's just probably things in there, like I know that you had stated before that it's terrible. I just want justice for him. I want a judge to see that. I want a jury to see that. I don't need to see it. I already know enough, I know enough to know that Chris and Katie have definitely done something here. I just don't know what. And see, that's why I'm trying to go back and figure out, around that time, what could have been going on, right? Especially if you think about it going over a year and a half span of time, where things were really tumultuous. And, a month before Sebastian goes missing, there's a final CPS report still open. That bugs the crap out of me. I'm sure it does you too. Um, and Seth says, I'm unable to clarify anything they state. Apologies. Yeah, no, don't apologize. And I think it's just safer that way. I mean, I wish they'd tell the truth, but Liberty says, I thought the neighbors didn't even know Sebastian lived there, lady. That's what's been said by the neighbors. I thought it was said all of the CPS cases were from the school. I mean, I heard that one of them was because the neighbors thought Sebastian was sleeping in the garage. And, when we talk about Sebastian in the garage, I remember when Katie says sometimes he comes in at night to get snacks, right? Well, where does he come in from? The only place I can think of would be the garage, because they do have a bonus room. But if they were like, you got to sleep up in the bonus room, I don't know how that would be a punishment or, whatever, unless they did like, you have to sleep on the floor or whatever, or maybe he didn't like it up there, something like that. But she would say he would come down to get snacks or rummage for snacks at night. But instead she said he would come in. So I don't know. I think that maybe there may have been. And then also we can't forget that for a time they were living at White House. So I don't know, October of 22, I believe they were living in Victoria Place though. See, that's why I think we need to get a more accurate timeline established, so that way we can work off of that, right? Because within within the CPS reports, without seeing them, we can infer or make an educated guess on what may have transpired based on the time frame and based on the frequency of reports, and we kind of have that as a timeline here that Tony's given us. So, yeah, so I know that's the thing. Liberty said, I do remember that because we played that statement. Remember the story of CP using a power washer on Sebastian ended up to be bogus. That person came from Facebook and they were never a neighbor. The story was all a lie. Yeah, and I mean, we've played it here too. So, I mean, I know you guys have heard it. Well, anybody that was with me back then, because we were just playing it to see what was said and everything. It was interesting interview, but of course, I mean, if it's made up, it could be an interesting story now, couldn't it? So, there's that. But yeah, I do remember that. Like I said, I'm not sure if the neighbors alleged anything. I do know that Bobby, the neighbor, says that none of the neighbors knew of Sebastian, but then yet the neighbors surrounding them had heard them fighting in the yard or him calling Sebastian those evil names, right? And the ones that he should be saying, to himself in the mirror. Hello, Andrea. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. And Lover Girl says, wasn't there a mattress in the garage? I mean, see, that's what I've heard. I've never gotten anything to confirm it, although I know that Chris was saying that there was a mattress in the garage because Faith's bed and he got her a new bed. I don't know. I mean, she just kind of seemed like she would have already had that transition from like a toddler bed to a big girl bed kind of a thing. Because the toddler beds are quite tiny. So I don't know. That's a good question though. Oh, I agree 100%, Detroit. A judge should have every single report made on CP to show his true character and how abusive he is, in my opinion. Absolutely. First thing, right? Aw, thank you, little Miss Sharon. Yeah, definitely. So, his doorknob was removed, Marion, from his door. So not the entire door, just the doorknob, which is, just as bad. Hey, Mark Klein, good to see ya. So yeah, just as bad, just as rotten in my opinion. And obviously he doesn't believe in having privacy. Again, I'm the one that tells everybody to snoop on their kids, but I mean, I'm talking about when somebody's dressing and your child is dressing, you let them have their privacy, right? You teach them that is their dignity, that they're having respect for. And so that way that when they go out into the world, they continue having that respect for themselves, especially little girls. Here we go.
And that Sebastian had been approved for the online school. Basically, his turn in line had come up. So everything was, was situated there. They quit talking about the behavioral centers or what have you, and just accepted the fact that in May he was going to live with his dad, and it would be his dad that would be dealing with him and any issues he may or may not have. So fast forward to the January of 24. It was filed. We do not have the details of that report because that report was ongoing when Sebastian went missing.
Okay, again, with the ongoing report, but I do want to read this really quick for anybody that may have missed it before. So this is a post from Chloe P.I., March 22nd. She writes, "Today I received a 200-plus page set of documents in regards to Sebastian Rogers. I will not share all of them and what was discovered in these documents because I don't know that it's beneficial to finding Sebastian. What I will say is I gained a lot of insight into Sebastian's earlier years. I bet. One major point I took from these documents, and the only one that I'll discuss at this very moment, is that Katie claimed she would not discipline Sebastian corporally. This is interesting after last night's interview with Chris when he spoke confidently about hitting Sebastian with a belt. CPS has been involved more than once. Also, a superior court had a request for file review of the January 29th, 2024. Maybe she won't do it, right? Which means spank Sebastian with a belt, but will allow for it. Someone needs to speak up. #Tennessee. See something, say something, do something. Don't just sit back. Do something, right? It's not good enough to just say something. You need to do something. All right. So again, this is what Chloe found out on March 22nd. I mean, not even a month after Sebastian went missing.
Child death numbers in 2019. New data from the Department of Children's Services in Tennessee shows the state reviewed 169 cases last year, and many allege child abuse as the cause. The state says all 169 cases had some type of DCS involvement at some point. Several of them are closed cases, but many remain open. 6 of those deaths happened while the child was in state custody.
So even Seth has never read this one.
Correct.
Seth had to go to an attorney to get these reports in the first place, correct?
The report, yes. All of the reports that I mentioned previously that were not currently open, he had to go to an attorney to get those reports.
Can I just clarify? So that one that happened in January that Seth has not been able to read, is that is the 5th CPS report that we know of?
Correct.
Wow.
That's insane.
Now, I'm a math guy, but I don't think you have to be a mathematician for this to add up. And I'm certainly not going to come on your show and start getting into accusing anybody, but
no.
Get to the point where there's enough DCS reports and it's been made very clear that they don't want to deal with this child. And on February 25th, early February 26th, the boy goes missing.
Wow.
That's incredible.
The Department of Children's Services has reviewed more than 100 child death cases each year since 2012. Parents and experts say that just reaffirms the need for more reporting and more advocates for children.
Okay, guys, so she just said that every single year since 2012, they have reviewed over 100 deaths per year. So 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, over the last 8 years, every year consecutively, there were over 100 children who passed away due to neglect abuse in the system. Unbelievable numbers. I mean, those numbers are out of this world, especially when we think of like little Summer Wells. Right? Oh, I don't know what happened to her, says Candace. Oh, bull crap. You happened to her. Don happened to her. Okay, let's listen to what they have to say.
Mary Wyatt still remembers getting a call from DCS. The state needed her to take in 2 of her grandchildren, 2 little girls who had been through a lot.
There was a lot of neglect and abuse.
However, 2 years and several doctors later, both girls are happy, healthy, and full of life.
I'm in preschool.
You're in preschool?
And I'm in kindergarten. I'm the smart girl.
She says they still meet with a therapist, but overall, they survived.
Oh, Lord, it's just a miracle.
A miracle not all kids get to see.
Okay, so I wanted to show you this really quick. This is the little sign that I was telling you guys about that they have like all over Missouri. They implemented it a couple years back. And just this precious little girl with her peace sign. Oh my gosh, she is like the cutest, sweetest little girl ever. Look, safe place. These are all over the place. And that's how kids, like even young teens, can identify a building that's safe for them to go into if they have to, right? So if they get kicked out of the house, or if something bad happens and there's a fight at the house and they need to get out really quickly, they can go to one of these safe places. I think they implemented these in Missouri, I believe probably around 2017, 16-ish, right? But it looks like they've also done that in Tennessee, and this is in 2019. Right. So it was weird because this was a sign I was telling you guys about a couple lives ago.
The last report that Seth could not get because it's an ongoing report has not been closed.
That's correct.
Okay.
No,
this is kind of shocking.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
Because I'm seeing people say, why didn't Seth do anything if he knew about the 5 CPS reports? But it's my understanding he didn't know, right?
He didn't know about any of them.
That's outrageous.
They never notified him. When he got the DCS reports, he didn't just get the ones from November. He got all of them.
Wow. So he didn't just get the ones from November. So there had to have been 2 in November, right? I'm just using deductive reasoning here. So, but based on what Tony's saying, there was one October, right? And then we have 1 or 2, in November. And then we know about another one that happened right before Sebastian went missing. Brenda, it always comes down to money. You know, I say it all the time, but it really does. The state of Tennessee does not want this case solved or for it to go to court, because if it does, they will have to pay millions in lawsuits, in my opinion. I mean, so much went wrong. And wait until you see who they have as this lead detective, a rookie who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm done blaming everything on Snuggle Struggles, but I do find it funny, and I'm grateful for the graphic that I've been able to, use very liberally. So, shout out.
In fact, in 2019, DCS reports it reviewed 169 death cases, many alleged child abuse, and 6 were still in state custody when it happened.
It's unfortunate and it's so sad.
It's also a big issue across the country. Child Help reports the U.S. loses between 4 and 7 children to abuse and neglect every day.
If you see something, say something.
Just do it now! Director Vonda McGill says DCS constantly has its hands full.
High number of families that they're dealing with, trying to determine whether abuse occurred or not.
I think that 5 DCF reports are proof enough that Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was being abused in Chris and Katie Proudfoot's home.
A reason why it says, as a community, we have to look out for our kids.
It really does take a village. We don't live in a safe world. We've got to keep our kids safe.
Do you like cats? Now, many of the cases DCS reviewed are still pending investigations. It will release its final findings on all cases in April.
I know because I worked in the school system for 27 years, and we had to notify any parent that still had rights to the child. Anytime we had to call CPS and CPS came out, once the investigation was started, we were required to do that. So I'm wondering why CPS did not contact the other parent. That's strange.
Auntie, I would tell you that from the legal counsel that we have spoke to, they had a very straightforward legal responsibility to notify him. And I would say that you can't do much about this until we figure out what the damages are.
Right.
But
Yeah, so Little Miss Sharon, I agree 100%, right? I would sue their bloody asses off. I would too. I mean, absolutely. It just cannot continue on with no repercussions whatsoever. And then they're always with their hand out asking for more money. But where are they putting it? They're not putting it into more social workers. We can tell you that because their cases are overloaded. Right? We're all just human beings. A lot of these social workers are in it because they have big hearts, guys, and they care a lot. I'm not discounting those people. Please don't think that, because I'm not. I actually have a great deal of respect for what social workers do for the kids, for the hard work that they put in, for all the hours, for all the times they go home and think about their job after they get off of work. That goes double for police officers. But I mean, it's like Detroit says, but how many unalivings happened since 2019? Yeah, how many? Right? Because that's 7 years, and where's the data for the last 7 years? I agree. And it's abuse, and 6 of the kids were still in custody, still in state custody. So, yeah, Chi says, yeah, absolutely. Liberty, do you have that clip? I don't remember him saying that. CP's words confirm for me they rehomed Sebastian, and Ellie is fully aware. I don't remember him ever saying that. Did he say that on like Clue McNasty, or where did he say that? Because I don't remember him saying that, and I didn't really listen to a lot of the panel. I do have Chris downloaded off the Bees channel for what he said most recently, admitting that, law enforcement did not go through Sebastian's room as they should have. They weren't thorough in searching. Tony is saying Seth can't sue until they know what happened to Sebastian. So as long as the case isn't solved, no lawsuit. Yeah, I think that he's what he's saying, yeah, is that because they haven't fully, or they don't fully understand or know what the damages are, right? Did they put Sebastian somewhere? Did they hurt Sebastian? Because they don't know that, it's hard to sue for damages when you don't know how to make oneself whole again, because that's why you would sue, is to try and make yourself whole again. But we all know, I mean, I know for a fact that Seth will never be whole again until he has his son back. I mean, as parents, we can completely understand and relate to that. So, no amount of money is ever going to make, it's never going to amount to who Sebastian is. No amount of money. It's just like Harmony Montgomery. That little piddly ass settlement that they gave Harmony's mother is nothing compared to, the lifetime of anguish and heartache living without her daughter. I mean, I would. I think that would be something that would definitely be looked into. I just think that he's trying to find his son, and I know everybody means well, and there's a lot of things that people would like to see happen. I mean, we all want justice for Sebastian. I think it just comes down to finding him, I think that's the biggest thing. That's why I'm just trying to figure out what they did, right? What happened next? Even I don't care how they got him out of the house, what they do with him next, right? Because that's really where we're stuck. Because it really doesn't matter. That part is not as important, even though I've gotten a couple of screenshots lately that says that maybe there was a handoff around 6 o'clock in the morning over at Worsham's. That was said a lot in the beginning with Cruella DeVille. So
I think that this situation is far from over.
Oh, so they did have a legal responsibility to notify him. That is what.
Oh.
Okay, I wasn't. I had not.
I would have been
that.
surprised had they not been responsible, because I know that's not something you can drop the ball on.
Do feel for his mom, and I'm going to say this: when she said, she said, "Can y'all stop or ask Chris to stop saying that that's his son, because it's not, and it kills Seth, even though he don't say anything." I just wanted to say what you had to say about that.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm a stepdad to a 15-year-old young man. Okay? I came in Sebastian's life, roughly he was like 7, 8-ish. And I helped raise him, and I still help raise him. And I have a daughter, since everybody wants to know, who lives with my ex-wife out in New Mexico. Her mother has another man that lives with her. Now, whether or not they're married, I don't know. That's not my business personally. Okay?
Yeah.
Last time I checked, they were not married. But my daughter refers to him as daddy. Now, what does a child calling a person got to do with anything? Because as long as a child is being correctly raised and not hurt and loved, then what does it matter? He's my stepson.
All right. Well, it matters to me because, first of all, Mr. Chris, there is a huge issue with people allowing for their girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives to be called a child's parent when they're not, and that opens the child up to abuse in and of itself. And I'm not going to break it down for you. You can go Google it with Katie. No. Only you're okay with that because you have no control over it, so you got to act like you're okay with it, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know of any time where my daughter's ever called someone mom other than me. So that's no, that doesn't make sense to me at all. It doesn't make sense to most of us, I don't think. Now, if a child grows up and knows that person when they're little, maybe they might have a special name for them, or maybe they might say I have a bonus mom or a bonus dad or something to that effect. I'm not saying that the way people raise their kids is I have all the answers or anything like that. But again, I have to always remember these cases where we have Madeline Soto, for example, sleeping with, her mom's boyfriend. That's not okay. And that's what that kind of thing does. It is, if it's not your blood relative, it's kind of a little bit weird, and you might be careful with that, in my opinion. But yeah, the fact that your daughter calls someone else daddy, that just shows that you're not a very good dad, in my opinion.
Does not call me dad. He does not call me father. He doesn't say it. He calls me Mr. Chris. I have always left that open for him. He does not have to call me anything he does not want to, except for late for dinner, because that ain't happening.
Right. Right. Okay.
Even Seth calls Chris his dad, his stepdad.
Right.
So his mother has her opinions, and that's that.
And back in October of 2022, Seth and the Proudfoots had all had a discussion about having Sebastian enter an online program in Clarksville and living with Seth. There was a waiting list, so he couldn't get on that year. So they finished up that school year. The following summer comes. Once we get into the fall of 2023, he still can't get into that online school in Clarksville. The waiting list is still full. So he enters high school, of course. They start having trouble at school, behavioral issues. And then sometime around November of 2023,
CPS reports or DCS reports.
Oh yeah. So actually during this time of 2022 through 2024 or January of 2024, there were a total of 5 different CPS reports made, all separate incidents, all mostly involving, it seems, the
The fifth one's still open.
The fifth one is still open, but they all are directed, or they all involve the step parent in the home. Is the
Predominantly, right?
Predominantly, although Katie seems to be named possibly in a couple of these, but more as
allowing.
But the step right, allowing the situation to occur.
And I told Sebastian, I said, having a snake means responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to clean it. You're going to have to feed it. You're going to water it. You're going to do all that stuff.
And he
If you
actually
don't-
did.
He what, Katie?
I said, and he did for a little while.
And then he stopped.
Yeah. And parenting is, and I think everybody understands this. When you're a parent, you're not your kid's best friends. You're not. That's not what your job is. Your job is to be a parent. And I told Sebastian, if you don't, she's gone. And he thought I was kidding. Nope. So when I got rid of one, I got rid of them all.
So they were having trouble with Sebastian, I guess, at some point, and then around November of 2023, they start having discussions about putting Sebastian in a behavioral school, one locally in Gallatin called Bledsoe Youth Academy. Seth does some research on it. It turns out they've had a lot of, I guess, children pass away under their care.
Oh gosh, yeah, guys, and we did a whole live about that. It's terrible conditions. Shauna, yeah, he knows she calls him daddy, but he takes the time to say, I don't know if they're married or not. It's not my business. CP, you don't like it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have mentioned it. I agree 100%, Shauna. Yeah, and he acts like, that he's allowing for it, right? Because, otherwise his fragile little ego couldn't take it. Hey, Grace, good to see you. Or Grace E, excuse me. Yeah, and Chuchi says, my son calls my husband by his first name, but if you ask him who his dad is, he says my husband when he knows who his biological dad is. And that's because his biological dad is not in his life. And, I think it's just, something that the child will choose for themselves, Chuchi as well, because you can't mistreat them though, like that's a respect, a love that's earned. And, again, I just don't see how Chris ever earned anything with Sebastian, even though he was in his life from the time he was 7 or 8, right? According to Chris here. Lover Girl says it would be hell living with Chris and Katie if Sebastian did run away. Who could blame him? And I've said that a lot of times too, Lover Girl, and I believe that as well. Sebastian had all the reasons to run away, but I don't believe that he did. He really had every reason to. Yeah, he's pissed. He's Mr. Chrissy Pissy Pants. He can't handle it, Thomas. Oh goodness.
And so he didn't want to approve that. He reached out to a lady named Tara, who works with this kind of thing, found 4 other really good schools around the country. Those cost between $5,000 to $10,000 per month. So of course that's, $60,000 to $120,000 a year. So that was not feasible, for the budget at that point, I guess. And then then he gets approved, I guess, sometime in that winter before he went missing to get into the Clarksville school. So then the plan becomes for Sebastian to go live with Seth in May, which we all knew this part of it, that was the arrangement. But then another CPS report comes in January, and we still don't know what's in that report. And neither does Seth, neither does Tony. No one knows because it's an open investigation. And then Sebastian goes missing in February.
Seth had spoken on, I guess it was, maybe it was the Pascal show that he recently spoke on. And he was talking about how at the end of the school year, Sebastian was supposed to come and live with him. And can you tell us anything about that? Is there anything specific to know about that? I think a lot of people have been saying some very interesting things. According to some posts that I saw, apparently it's because Chris, you are, that he's scared of you. That he's scared of you, and that you're bullying him at home. And I don't like to ask these questions, but I feel like that it seems to be addressed because
Yeah, so this is the live stream from March 17th, where Arctic Fox was on the panel, obviously, but so was Chris, right, sitting right next to him. And Chris laughs when Duchess asks him about Sebastian being afraid of him. That should make any parent, right, feel horrible, in my opinion. Because if I was a step parent and my stepson thought, that like if I was scary to him, if I scared him, I'd want to know why, right? Or, he's acting like he's well aware of it, first of all, but then he laughs it off, I know, Seth, I almost jinxed you, but I added a heart to mine. But yeah, I mean, it's awful. Yeah. Oh, totally, totally. Birds of a feather. And just bowing down to Chris and the way that this live stream was full of Chris getting called out on his bullying of everyone and Sebastian, and all he does is laugh and think it's funny. Oh, that evil laugh too. Yeah. It's diabolical for sure. Like he gets off on the fact that Sebastian was in fear of him. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that Sebastian was showing behaviors of fear and trauma. Most definitely, at the very least. But then he was okay when it was just him and Katie. And we heard Katie even sticking up for Sebastian. Well, he did take care of his snake at first. She's trying to stick up for him, but then Chris just mows over her, right? And then he just keeps talking and telling on himself, right? He's not doing himself any favors. He's literally cutting his own nose off despite his face. And Katie is trying to offer some sort of, and that's why in the beginning, I didn't know what to think of Katie. Because she's sticking up for Sebastian, right? She didn't let him throw the stuff away, allegedly. It happened twice. It probably happened more frequently than that, just like the spankings with the belt or beltings, whatever you want to call it. But she also is trying to stick up for him here too. Well, at first he took care of it. Well, that's any kid, right? That's why you got to kind of keep on to them and be like, it's time to feed your snake, It's time to clean out the cage. It's time to get a rat. I don't know how they do it. I've never had a snake. I don't want one. But that was Sebastian's thing, and they allowed for him to have it. How can you teach responsibility if you take it away? And I did not play the whole, segment there. There was a lot more to that. But again, it was a lie by Chris Proudfoot. The guy came out later and says, yeah, we took all of the snakes and there was never an option for Sebastian to earn the snake back. Which we all knew that. That was just confirming what we all knew. Shauna says exactly. He gave an unnecessary detail there. Hey, Chrissy, you're such a pissy pants. Go to the corner and stomp your foot. Your feet, you. Oh my goodness, Shauna, that just made my day. That's so funny. Oh yeah. I mean, he was all over their channels. I mean, but this interview was something that told me, if listening back to it, that Katie and Chris are very familiar with the panel and the guests and everything. It was very scripted. They knew what they were going to be asked beforehand. Again, Chris laughing, right? He thinks it's funny. He thinks it's cute. Oh, it's cute to make Sebastian scared of me. You know? Nothing yet, Mark, but I have put together well, that's what I'm going to kind of go over in a little bit because uh I've been thinking a lot about it, and even though I didn't witness them flipping off, I think that it's important that I at least let them know about what I have captured and what Betty captured, even if other people have sent it in. I don't know that we're sending it to the appropriate places, right? But I do agree that someone needs to be held accountable for that. The person that did it. I'm just not even sure who the officer is. I figured I might just make that complaint and show them the video, and maybe they'll do something. Because I was in attendance and I've been thinking about it a lot. Um, and again, I don't think it was right or proper. Hitting that when I saw them hit the sign, I didn't see them hit the sign until after I came home, and I had already done, slowed the video down and put it out there, and then I was going back over it again, and I'm like, wow, he totally went up there and hit KJ's, our friend KJ here. She was at the event, made signs and was posting them around, honk for Sebastian. I believe she told me, because I asked her, "Do you remember what it said?" And because she had took the time to make those, she paid for that sign. Um, and Sebastian is still missing. 2 years is too long, is what she said it said, to the best of her recollection. So what's wrong with saying that? Why did he take it upon himself to smack the sign, hit the sign, touch the sign, right? He doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself, and then he was pointing at everybody, and then he's also giving thumbs up and waving his hands in the air and being a complete jackass, in my opinion. So yeah, I've done a lot of thinking on it, and I'm gonna take some action. Um, but yeah, why? Because that ticked me off more than the bird, right? Even because like I said, I can't. Um, I won't lie and say I saw it if I didn't. I heard other people around being like, "Oh my God, he just flipped off Seth and everything," and he might have been flipping all of us off. But again, I didn't witness it myself. But then we also had people coming in and saying that too. So I'm sure I'm probably the last one, because I'm sure it's been reported. I just wanted to take some time to process it and then also go over my footage too. Um, it's just so hard to see it when you zoom in, right? It gets heavily pixelated, and it blurs out, especially when there's motion. So that's why I've been working on kind of clearing that up, too, to send it in. So, yeah, telling Seth to put out an application, telling civilians that we need to be searching for Sebastian when it's their freaking job. I know, Detroit. I'm right there with you, girl. And that's not the only time that Seth has been told that, that he needs to put in an application. Yeah. I, for one, think Seth is too good for that, in my opinion. Although we'll find out that there's not any heavy qualifications to be a detective in Sumner County. You guys this will blow your mind if you didn't watch my silly video. We're going to go over it. I'm going to read it all, but I just put it up there, you know, to Eminem and another up and coming artist. I did a mashup, but we just don't hear a whole lot about Detective Carter, and he is responsible as well. And we need to know everything there is to know about that guy. And I want to show you guys some of the ways that we can put in a citizen's report. There's a whole lot of research that I did today, and I just put it into this video. So we're going to go over it. But thank you all so much for being here and for voicing your opinions in the chat. I see you guys. You guys have like the best comments ever.
Just want you to talk to us about why people are saying this and why people are also putting online that you have domestic violence charges. And I just wanted you to talk to us about that. If you, whatever you feel like you can tell us, so we can try to reel that in.
No, I'm okay to address every bit of this.
Okay.
So you mentioned Sebastian's afraid of me. Well, that is a loaded question because somebody who has released some information
Welcome,
out
Granny.
there from another show who I won't put his name out there, allowed somebody to say something. Now, mind you, when you have a teenage child or teenage children, all parents know this, your children are not going to like you because you're not there to be their best friend. You're there to be a parent.
Welcome, guys.
And as parents, you have rules they have to follow. If they don't, there's consequences. Sebastian will say one day he's upset and mad at me for something, and 20 minutes later will run up to me, throw his arms around me, cry and say, I'm sorry and I love you. So, you know, when you get in.
Okay, so one thing I want to say before Chris says so, I want to have the say so. But you know, he's over there and he's talking about Sebastian crying. And it's like, well, why was he crying? What did you do to make him cry, right? Was he feeling so guilty about some little thing that you think was such a big deal? And he's seeking your approval? Because that's the only reason I can think of that he's feeling like he has to cry and apologize to you. Right? I mean, yeah, Sebastian, I was about to say Seth, Sebastian should never have had to feel that way, right? But it's never good enough for these assholes. Like Chris Proudfoot, nothing Sebastian could have done would ever be good enough. And that's the saddest thing ever because, you know, I always like to have hope and keep the faith. But when it comes to a narcissist, good luck. You're never going to get their approval. You're always going to be seeking it. And they're always going to make you feel like dog shit. Right? I just don't think it's okay. And I can see right through that whole situation of what he's explaining. Even though the question that he was asked is, Sebastian afraid of you? And he goes on with this long drawn out thing, you know, that Sebastian goes over to him and just, oh, I'm so sorry, stepdad. No, I don't think so. I don't think it went down like that, Mr. Crispy.
Trouble. Of course you don't like your parents. You know, he said the exact same things about his father. But that's when you set him down and said, look, bud, parents are parents. And we're going to have to do what we have to do. And unfortunately, you're not going to like it. But down the road, when you get older and you decide to have children, someday you're going to look back and say, man, they were right. So, I mean, people have their opinions. They have their thoughts and their assumptions. And that's fine. I have never once stopped a person from having them. That's why we are people. That's how we are.
All right. So Stepfoot can't stop anybody, right, from doing anything. So he gets so upset about it, right? He stays mad about it. And little Miss Sharon, that just, you know, it warms my heart and hurts my heart at the same thing, right? Because it's like they feel remorse. Little Miss Sharon says, after a meltdown, a child feels remorse because they have no control over the meltdown. Yeah, and you know, it's like then they're feeling bad, they're feeling guilty. And you know, it's okay to have a little bit of guilt, but you just don't want to make them feel bad for something they have no control over either. You know, what's Chris's excuse for his little hissy pissy pants tantrums? You know, what's his excuse? He has not an excuse. Just that he's never grown up and he's just been around enablers his whole life. Katie's enabling him. Cruella's enabling him, right? Valley Gal says, "Hey CP, did you also apologize and follow through?" Exactly, Valley Girl. I don't mean to laugh, but I mean it's just that is so true. Yeah, did you ever apologize and say I'm sorry too, or I didn't mean to fly off the handle and bag up all your stuff and throw it in the trash can and make you take the trash to the end of the driveway, right? Did they ever have a heart to heart? It doesn't sound like it. And Mark Klein says, "I'm disappointed in the Fatfoot's friends for never telling him he's a jackass, low intelligent village clown." Yeah, me too. Big time. Hey Funtuski, thank you for always being here. I'm glad you're here in the chat too. I know. Yeah, step foot. He stays mad. He does because he knows he has no control over anything. And now he has like a billion people to try to control, right? All across the United States, all across. We have friends in Australia in the chat. We have friends from England in the chat. All these different countries, all these people come together for Sebastian. He can't control all of us, and it just really gets his goat. Right? Really chaps that ass.
But knowing the facts are one thing, and then assumptions behind what you want to put out there is something totally different.
Right.
You addressed domestic violence. Okay. There are some folks out there who've decided to go online and go pull some public records, which I'm perfectly okay with. Domestic violence. If I had domestic violence in my background, I wouldn't have certain credentials that I have because you're not legally allowed to. Domestic violence, no. I've had.
Okay, guys, so notice how many times he's saying domestic violence, right? Again, like he's trying to stall so he doesn't have to answer the question, as Trishy was saying earlier with the linguistics experts, or I'm sorry, I think that was someone else, but I do remember, sorry, you guys saying that in the chat, buying time, right? So he's repeating what he's being asked so he can think for a minute, right? Or try to come up with something to say. But again, he's playing it off like, oh, I wouldn't be able to have a gun rights, for instance. I think that's what he's referring to. If I had that kind of charge, just because you were never charged with something like that doesn't mean that it never happened. We all know that happens and people do not follow through. Even when the state picks up the charges, if you don't show up for court, then the charges get dropped. I know because I've lived it, right? But he keeps saying domestic violence over and over and over again.
Temporary protective order, and I had a no contact order placed against me in New Mexico with my ex-wife.
So there's your timeline. Tony, am I misspeaking on any of that you could tell?
No, and when I spoke to Mr. Rogers, he said that the ongoing one was either at the end of January 24 or the very beginning of February, within that few days there.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So I assume police have seen it, correct? They'd be able to see it. Investigators.
I would venture to say that they know everything that I'm sharing with you.
Sure. And they probably, even the open one, that wouldn't be off limits for them. They'd be able
No.
to subpoena that, I would think.
Absolutely.
Right. They have all the information, yet there's never been an arrest for child abuse or neglect or anything in Sebastian Rogers' case. This is Sheriff Snuggle Struggle with two little girls at Shop with a Cop. I, for one, wouldn't want my daughter shopping with Eric Snuggle Struggles. But here he is, acting like he cares about kids. Why doesn't he care about finding Sebastian Rogers? And why are his deputies pointing and making lewd gestures toward Sebastian's army? Make it make sense.
People are just really devastated and heartbroken. They're angry at CPS. That's essentially that's what everyone's kind of saying. It's jaw dropping.
Yeah, that's the response.
Unfortunately, we knew some little bits and parts of this, but it does kind of make sense. The timeline starts to make some sense, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had CPS called on you before?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't have to go into it elaborate or anything like that. I just, that was the question that I had. And that happens, sometimes, especially when you have a child who is, has special needs and stuff. That's hard.
I've had it. Well, I'll be honest with you. I've had CPS called on me in 2 states, New Mexico and Tennessee.
And did that include with Sebastian?
Tennessee was Sebastian, yes, ma'am. And in fact, Sebastian here, like I said, I got nothing to hide. So Sebastian went to school one day because we were at the house. He got in trouble. He didn't have a belt on. I was like, "Where's your belt?" And got it. Whack. Got him. So he goes to school and he tells the teacher. They're mandatory reporters. So the teacher reports it. That afternoon, CPS shows up to the house while we're actually sitting down to eat dinner. Now, mind you, 15-year-old child, he's not real happy because he's in trouble, so he's being punished. So he shows, he makes a report. They come to the house, and the lady who comes to the house is the same lady we've had. She's had a case before. Now, the case that was before was something that didn't even happen.
Okay, so now he realized that he screwed up royally right there, right? I'm back here laughing at Mark and little Miss Sharon. Oh my goodness. So now he's talking. Oh, he's like, oh shit, I just screwed up, right? Because he told on himself. Talk about leakage, more like a fucking waterfall. And he just says, hey, that really didn't even happen. It was all these other situations rolled into one. Just wait, right? But I mean, it's just you could tell, like, in that moment that he realized that he screwed up. So I just wanted to point that out and and say, smart guy that never wins a smart guy that never wins a court case. Also 5 wives. That's hilarious.
And it's like 3 stories that were shoved into one. And when they finally got it debunked, they were like, "Oh, he got so mixed up in telling one story, it mixed into 3, and it caused a commotion." Well, they canceled that out. So the one on me, she shows up, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" It's her again. She's like, "Oh, hey." She goes, "Hey, I already don't." She's like, "Don't tell me anything, but I'm gonna tell you what I know happened." And I said, "Okay." She goes, "Blah blah blah." She told me exactly what happened. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Oh my God." I said, "Yes, ma'am. This is how it's been." Sebastian thought by telling on me, making it sound like I was so horrible that I was going to get in trouble over something stupid. And I was like, "No, Sebastian, you got punished, man. You got punished." And he was like, but, and I was like, "You got punished." And the lady took him outside. She goes, "Sebastian, just because you get in trouble and you get punished, you need to understand when you go and you say things about people and you lie and you fabricate things and you make it sound worse than what it is, sir, you can get in trouble for that." So that happened, and the lady was like, "I am so sorry." And I said, "No, he's just a child. He's upset. It is what it is. I'm okay with it." He sat that back down at the dinner table and was like, "See, eat your food." And we went back, and everything's been fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the first place they need to be looking is right here. If you're ignoring all of this, then you're not. It's willful ignorance or you're incompetent, and I can't imagine that it's either. I'm sure they are looking at all of this. You know me. I've got the rare opinion or the minority opinion that that law enforcement.
Really quick, and I do believe what Mr. E is saying as well. I'm in agreement with Mr. E here. It's just so hard lately with this case. It's just kind of, topsy-turvy. It's not the normal route that I even take, you know, when it comes or approach when it comes to, you know, going over these cases. But law enforcement in this case, I mean, it's just the more you uncover, the more you see that there is absolutely something wrong. If it's not corruption, it's something very deep-seated and ugly. And I don't think it was over something stupid either, Shauna. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't think Sebastian felt it was stupid. And obviously the mandated reporters who are his teachers or whoever reported this to CPS, an adult, I'm not sure who, obviously. I don't want to, you know, misspeak or anything, but the whoever else heard about it, you know, didn't think it was stupid either. And obviously neither did CPS. I think that whole story was fabricated to make Chris look good, his own little fantasy that he was able to, you know, play out and explain, just like, you know, in normal Chris fashion. Denise says, hello, Denise. This is the same CPS worker who got released from her job duties right after Sebastian went poof. Weird. Right. That's to the best of my knowledge. That was the same person. So yeah, what was CP's hardest 4 years? Second grade. He probably had to go through it twice. Who is excited to see DCS? Hey, yeah, really. How about it? Most parents would be like, oh no, like they would be stopped in their tracks, like, oh gosh, you know, and not like, oh hey, you again. Hi, nice to see you. Valley Gale says, who is excited to see DCS? Hey, what a sick human joke, in my opinion. I agree. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about Chris is he always downplays stuff. He can't ever be authentic with his feelings, right? Because most of us wouldn't find it funny. I mean, not the slightest, right? Like especially if they had been there recently. So this might have been the November incidents, right? Because if there was a couple in November, it might have been these two they're referring to. So obviously, and like Cheryl was saying too, who else was the report on? Who else was reported in the home? Was it Katie for allowing it? Did they have two separate reports that maybe she didn't get to yet? Maybe there was still one pending, and so, you know, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, but I think just the presence of the reports, right? Because you might have a report, and we've talked about it many times here, because maybe the your child fell out of a tree, broke their arm, and you take them to the emergency room, and they're like, okay, what's going on? Is this, you know, because they want to make sure it's not abuse, and they actually did fall. Right, because a lot of times with abuse, people will say, "Oh, I ran into the doorknob," or "I did this," or "Oh, I'm an idiot, I fell," and you know that's not what happened. Again, I've lived it. Hey, Catherine, good to see you. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that goes on. So they do check just to double check. Crazy Bird, good to see you. And then maybe because they were having issues in the home and they were, you know, known about by the school, that could have prompted some of it too, but I think it was more severe than that, in my opinion. I think there was a lot going on, and again, this isn't even talking about Sebastian's therapy that he was going to and what he was telling the therapist or counselor during this time either.
Of course, this is not a big corruption cover-up issue. I've always believed that they are doing a real investigation. It's just a difficult one, and that it's painstaking and it's piece by piece.
They're being careful.
They're being cautious and careful. That's been my belief, and I think they've got to be looking here. I don't know how they're not.
And you know, Mr. E, that I've always shared that opinion with you. If you and Mrs. E had 4 or 5 domestic violence situations at your home, and they came out, and every time they came out, you were the bad guy. You were doing things that you shouldn't be doing. She was claiming that she was scared. You did this, you did that 4 or 5 times over a couple of years. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and Mrs. E is missing. I mean, where would the world be looking?
Sure. Of course. You'd have to check me out first. I mean, you would have to expect it. You'd have to clear me first. If they didn't, they would not be doing their job. So, and it doesn't mean that there's any guilt necessarily with these people, but it definitely needs to be the first place they're looking. And until they can clear that, then they don't really need to spend any time looking anywhere else. There's too many red flags.
Is Chris still here?
Can you drop the link again?
He fell down, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When I was talking to Chris earlier, and him and I were messaging, and I asked him about DCS, and he said the only case that DCS has open is because Sebastian ran away.
Okay, sorry about that. Far away, man.
Well, so you and I we had messaged earlier on Facebook, and I had asked you about DCS, and you said that there were no other interactions with CPS or DCS except for Sebastian going missing, which I then told you, but that's not mandatory necessarily unless CPS was already involved.
Oop. Huh,
So
sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. There we go. That's for Josh there. Because yes, exactly. And this is what Josh is trying to explain to him. Hey, we had a conversation earlier and you told me this. That wasn't true. But I just want to show you guys why Katie might have had that CPS report sent on her as well, because she was co-signing all of this and she was right there lying for Chris. That's true, she tells Josh before Chris gets back on the panel.
Sorry about that.
That's true.
Far away, man.
Fire away. Ask me the hard questions. He is such a dick. All right. And Warrior Princess, good to see you. So yeah, this is ridiculous, Oh gosh, isn't he ever too? Shauna, and I agree. He's looking like Gargamel from the profile view. That's cracking me up. Yeah, he does. Mr. Mullet over there. But again, here comes Josh to, school Proudfoot, and he still can't just admit it. He never will admit it. And then he thinks that people are laughing with him when they're laughing at him.
Well, so you and I we had messaged earlier on Facebook, and I had asked you about DCS, and you said that there were no other interactions with CPS or DCS except for Sebastian going missing, which I then told you, but that's not mandatory necessarily unless CPS was already involved. So
now,
you're not really being honest.
Wait a minute. You asked me, because I'll read the messages to everybody in God country. You asked me if there was an active CPS case on Sebastian. That's what you asked. And I told you, yes, there was, because the sheriff's department told us that they had to report it because he was missing. That's what you asked. Now, you also started to ask if there was another case, and there was no other case that I know of that's active. That's what you asked.
I'm here.
So, like I said, sir, I'm brash, I'm to the point, be respectful.
Can you hear
me? And I will tell you.
Chris, you are a disrespectful shit bum, in my opinion. You just admit all of this stuff and you're just rambling on. It's best to just zip it, right? Because again, and there was some audio issues here, guys, and I left that in there just for context. And then there's some long, awkward pauses. So I apologize for that, but I kind of wanted to keep it in its original form, so to speak, because they were having issues back and forth. At first, I was like, oh, God, Chris is lying. But then I was like, okay, wait, no, they're both having issues with their audio. Such a liar. And and that's the thing. He's making Josh, take a crayon out, right? And just piece by piece explain it to him when he knows damn well he lied, in my opinion.
I'll be honest, I'm going to tell you the truth. I got nothing to hide.
Well, I just said,
okay, again, I'm going to be honest, followed by a lie.
Well, in the messages that I asked that it was pertaining to Sebastian's school, right? Like you just said. And you said, no, other than him going missing, no CPS cases.
can't hear. Maybe that.
He didn't say anything. Can you hear him, Chris? Can you hear
Hello?
him?
Yeah, I can now. I can now.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you didn't ask, you asked about active cases. That's what you asked about. And I answered your question.
You did. You answered my question.
Hello? Hello?
He said you answered his question. I can hear you. Can you hear him, Josh?
Okay. Yeah, I can't hear him.
Okay. Can y'all
So-
now? I think
So
it's
he's asked me, and I can't pull it up because if I pull it up, then we lose contact. But he asked me if there was active DCH, CPS, whatever you want to call it, case with Sebastian. And I said, yes, he's missing. I was told by the sheriff's department that they had to report it. So yes, there's an active case.
Right, and now he's lying and saying the sheriff's. He did this a lot in the beginning, guys. I know a lot of you know about it, but just in case people are newer or they don't remember or something like that, just to jog everyone's memory here, because he did this a lot in the beginning, blaming law enforcement. I can't say because law enforcement told me not to. And then Nancy Grace called him out, was like, oh, or even blaming Katie's company. Oh, well, did they tell you couldn't divulge that information? And he's like, no. And she's like, okay, then, well, so what's the big deal? The van sitting in the driveway, right? But he did that a lot in the beginning. He was pushing off accountability and responsibility onto others, saying that he wasn't allowed to talk about it per them. And we all know that Chris just does whatever the hell Chris wants. So he doesn't go to anyone's beck and call, right? It's the F's, feed me, F me, fund me, whatever, finance me. It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. But yeah, those don't fall under that. So obviously, unless he's effing the entire sheriff's department, which I highly doubt, then why does he care what they have to say or what they're going to tell him he can and can't do?
Is there anything other than that? No, there's not an active case. So my statement that I told you is true.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I get it, the active investigation, but yeah, but you did really. Maybe it's just because of text, but you did make it seem like there was no, like that this was the first time that they'd ever been involved at all.
No, I didn't insinuate. Now, understand something. Words on paper are simply words on paper. Whatever emotions you put behind them is directly proportionate to yourself, not me.
Oh, sir, I didn't put.
Wow, how dare he talk to Josh that way? I'm appalled. I'm laughing, but I'm appalled. Like, what the hell is wrong with this ass clown? He's just sitting there telling, oh, well, that's a direct reflection of you. No, it's not. Go look in the mirror, bro. You need to go look in the mirror. You're the one who's being questioned in the disappearance of your stepson. And you're up here bragging about disciplining him in some really crazy methods that are not effective, in my opinion. It doesn't teach anything, yet you're just rambling on. And then when you're forced to answer a hardball question like you were wanting, Josh comes up and just asks you flat out, this is what our conversation was. And so why are you saying something different now? You start playing games again. Hey, Jamie Brown, good to see ya. He wouldn't know the truth if it bit him in the ass. Exactly. Detroit, exactly. Yeah, no, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He doesn't know how to tell the truth, right? Because again, there had to be more reports in different areas because Chris, I mean, there should be more reports, but again, and I'm not trying to victim shame or blame Nina in the slightest because everything she had to do, she was surviving. There's no doubt in my mind that she was in survival mode and she probably stays in survival mode. I don't know Nina. I have never talked to her. I just know that I can relate to her and her story. But because she didn't report a lot of what had happened with Chris backhanding her daughter, for instance, or slamming Faith on the coffee table when she was a baby in her little carrier, because those were not reported, Chris was able to continue on with his reign of terror and horror on children. He, in my opinion, he absolutely gets off on it, right? So he's bragging, he's okay with all of this, right? Because some people might react differently. If they're being accused of something they didn't do, they might get upset and say, no, I would never do that. I would never hurt, my stepson, my stepchild. But some other people might be like, okay, well, what do you know? You're a stupid YouTuber, right? And, you guys can think whatever you want to think. I know it's not true. So there could be different reactions, but the way that Chris is acting, he's bragging about it. He's proud of himself. He thinks it's funny that Sebastian's scared of him. What a piece of garbage.
But any emotion behind it, I'm just saying.
What you're saying, you're trying to insinuate on this show.
No.
Yes, you did, sir. Yes, because you just stated that you said that I made it sound like this. No, I didn't. I told you, I gave you a direct statement, gave you your answer, and that right there is exactly what I'm talking about. Then you called into the show and you said, no, you're lying. No, I'm not lying. So call a spade, but make sure you're right. Now, to be honest with you, it has nothing to do with finding my son.
You don't think that? You don't think? Okay, all right. Well, look, man.
How does CPS have to do with anything finding Sebastian? Because if you're insinuating something,
well, you said they opened up an investigation. You said they opened up an investigation. So you tell me what it has to do with him.
Because what did I tell you? That's what you're not listening. The sheriff's department told us that they are required to report it to DCS, CPS, whatever you want to call them. They are required to report it to them. Mm-hmm. That answer has yet to change. It hasn't changed any of the slightest.
And okay, so that's okay, I get it. So it's the only open investigation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the next hard one we got? Fire away.
Okay.
I'm not arguing.
Okay.
Hey, Stinky Stepfoot. I think Josh was laughing at you and not with you.
That I believe that you have to follow the evidence.
I guess you guys knew, but we had no idea that there were 5 CPS reports in 2 years. That's outrageous. It's outrageous in a lot of ways. Even if they have nothing to do with Sebastian's disappearance at all, it's outrageous. It's unacceptable.
Well, and we now know, Mr. E, we now have confirmation that they've reached out to 2 different content creators for either an interview that they've done with one of the parents or some evidence that they talked about and wanted to find out, hey, can I get a clip of this?
Okay, so if you guys have never watched the full Smiley Stories interview with the Proud Feet, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it because there was so much leakage, and I can't imagine what those investigators or detectives or Sheriff Craddock or Ken Widener must have thought when they listened to that, because I would bet my bottom dollar that I would bet my bottom dollar that it's not the same story that they got. I mean, I absolutely would, and I would win. Okay, because Chris and Katie, well, not really Katie, because Katie kind of says a little bit here and there, but it's nothing that's incriminating towards her or Chris per se, right? She lied, right? She's omitting details. Like she was up there the entire time that Josh is struggling to get the truth out of Chris Proudfoot. And at any moment, Katie, being a whole ass adult, could have raised her hand and she would have been able to voice her opinion and come clean about the situation, but she never does. So she lies about that being the only time. She said, that's true. Oh, it's still open because Sebastian went missing. They opened one because Sebastian went missing. That's true. No, it's not. And you know it. But you just sit there and let it all ride. Right? You listen to them going back and forth. I mean, what was she doing? Filing her nails? Well, really? She could have at any moment spoke up, but she didn't. And that's why Katie's just as culpable, in my opinion. I've always wondered if Katie had it in her to hurt Sebastian, but I think a lot of who we saw Katie to be was what Katie wanted us to see. You know, the sweet Southern belle at first, right? She goes back and forth in interviews and does the different versions of Katie, right? She's biker Katie, she, with the attitude, choice words were used, right? But then we also hear her in other recorded calls when she didn't know she was being recorded, or she knew she was being recorded, but she didn't know that it would ever be public. We also see Katie at the Texas Roadhouse. Katie, the mother to Sebastian, and it speaks volumes. But Chris, he tells a lot of shit in this interview that I bet he wasn't telling the police. I bet he wasn't bragging to the police about belting Sebastian. Oh, I'm sure he was over there. Oh, I felt so bad. I had to do it, though. I had to. He was out of control, that kid. Getting in everybody's personal space. I didn't see that. I didn't see Sebastian getting in anybody's personal space when I saw him at his birthday party. I think he was acting appropriately. He was in a team setting, acting appropriately. Nobody felt uncomfortable, even though he was getting scolded by the bully, Aunt Melissa, every 2 seconds. Oh, don't tell her what she needs to get. Well, he was just telling her what they needed to win. Hey, you need to get this. When the peg goes down, if you get this, you're going to win, right? He wasn't telling her she had to. He had no control over it. It's a little drop where you drop the piece and it goes down the board. It's random as fuck. But I get really riled up with Aunt Melissa because, again, they try to act like Sebastian was like doing something wrong and she was the one being inappropriate with him the entire time. The whole 3-minute, 4-minute video. And then we see Sebastian at the Texas Roadhouse, smiling at the waitstaff, using his manners at the table, getting up and using the bathroom just fine, not having to wear any type of, underwear other than his own. It's horrible. And as a mom, I'm sure Katie didn't like him to have to do that. Otherwise, we would have saw him wearing it. But he wasn't, because wasn't that Chris's rule? But Katie liked to break a lot of his rules. Because that's how you survive, right? It's like if he's not around, he's never going to know, right? Unless he catches you and then you're in trouble. But I mean, it's like you kind of weigh it out and be like, well, just like with the dogs, put the dogs up and go to bed, But she didn't put the dogs up and go to bed. The dogs sleep with her when he's not around. And again, it's just Katie trying to do as she wants to do. And she knows Chris is controlling. It's a very layered dynamic. It's not simple.
Can I find out where you got that? So they are watching what's going on, which is encouraging to me. Mm-hmm. And it does give us an indication as to which direction they're leaning, to your point, if you're paying attention.
So I didn't know there were two. I knew about Smiley. I knew they had asked her. I didn't know that there was a second.
You were okay. I thought you were there when I told him.
Oh, maybe I took away. Okay, so there's at least two. Okay, great. Maybe.
And one of them happened yesterday, by the way.
Right.
Oh, very interesting. That is very interesting.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, so you're not doing that if you're trying to cover this thing up.
Correct.
You're not doing
Correct.
things like that.
Because the moment you do that, based on the information that you're asking for, you're tipping your hat as to which direction you're leaning.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good sign. it's a very good sign that justice is coming. It really is. It's slow. Justice is painfully slow, but the way these things go is everybody says corruption till the day there's handcuffs, and then it's like then they'll be celebrating the police because there's no warm up to it. There's no they're not going to announce the date that this thing's going to be solved. It's just one day everybody's living their lives, and the next day their home's raided. That's kind of how it goes. I say thank you so much for sharing all of that information with us. There's so many people invested in this and just want to discover what the truth is, even if it's painful, like what we've been hearing tonight. That we can't shy away from it. It's the reality, and it gives us a little more clarity on what was going on leading up to his disappearance, which is very important. It's maybe the most important part. But I really appreciate you coming and doing this.
But I want to ask you this. I was listening to a statement of one of Mr. Proudfoot's wives. I believe there have been 5. I'm not judging. I don't care who marries who or doesn't marry who. But this particular one named Nina stated that they had 2 children. One she had from a prior relationship, the second she had with him, and that the daughter had braces and he hit the daughter in the mouth and busted her mouth. Guys, remember, Mr. Proudfoot nor the mother have been named a suspect or a POI in this case. My question to you, Seth, did you know about any of that? I mean, she's on tape saying it. I watched her say it. Did you have any idea that there may have been other issues of violence with children?
No, ma'am, I didn't. And I know that Chris has been in Sebastian's life for a while now, before me and Katie were divorced. So
Has Sebastian ever said to you or tried to communicate to you abuse in the home?
No. He's on multiple occasions sit there and has told me he doesn't want to go back. And I've asked him, why don't you want to go back? And he wouldn't tell me. He didn't say why. He was just like, I just don't want to go back. And it's, at that point in time, I'm just like, okay, well, maybe it's the freedom that he gets at my house.
And as a parent, you try to think of the most, realistic, but also, you're not trying to think that your ex is trying to hurt their own child, especially a mom. I would think, I don't know. But I would think the same thing at first. And I also think that it's a very sad situation that Sebastian had to be in because he doesn't want anybody to get in trouble. He doesn't want anybody to fight. He just wants it to stop. That's all he wanted, is for all of that shit to stop and for Mr. Chris to get off of his ass for a while. Like, leave him alone and he'll do fine. But when you keep on harping at him and griping at him, hello, Commander Alpha Turkey, good to see ya. I can't understand why this child's own father had to get an attorney to get these reports. It's just the way it is, CC. I know. They're sealed, and so you do have to get, and that's in a lot of states. I know Tennessee is that way because I looked it up whenever this all kind of transpired. In Sebastian's case, I was kind of doing a little bit of research, but yeah, that it's just across the board. It's not anything that they made Seth do that they wouldn't, it's part of the process, I guess. And Denise, I'm with you too. I admire the ease optimism, but I still have a negative amount of faith in Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Well, and I'm going to show you some more as well tonight. We still have a little bit more to get into, but I did want to show this first part. And I agree. It's hard to keep the faith because, again, the more that I uncover, the more shows me that there is corruption, or they are enablers themselves, right? I don't believe it's incompetence, and that's where I do agree with Mr. E there, because I know it's not incompetence because the sheriff is educated. Now the rookie, I don't know how much education this guy's got, but they're not going to play me for a fool, and I just assumed that they had qualified a qualified detective, because if you look at Brandon Carter, he doesn't look like he's, you know, a young spring chicken. Yeah, he's clean shaved and everything, but he's still, you can tell he's a little bit older, right? So it's not like they have just brought in like a fresh ass rookie, right? You have to have certain experience out in the field, but we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, just the way that they acted, it tells me everything that I need to know. The fact that there was nothing done about it yet, presumably, I don't know, maybe, you know, when I speak to someone, they will educate me, right? But it's not something that I want to do as something to highlight on the show or anything like that, because I've thought about it a lot. But I do want you guys to know that I'm going to do something about it. So, I mean, unless something outrageous pops off. But as a concerned citizen, it's not just for what they did to us or Seth, right? Because I just think of it collectively as all of us. Anybody that did see a bird, right? I mean, that had to take their faith away in law enforcement a little bit, right? Or at least in that officer, at least in Sheriff Snuggle Struggles. But, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of faith with him anyway. I think it's important to look into Detective Carter and his qualifications, though, because he's never solved a case. To the best of my knowledge, he's very new, and he's also not really even listed as a detective on the case. There's others. So why is he saying he's the lead detective? And then I also thought it was funny because anytime you try to look up Brandon Carter, he's like a ghost online. You can't find his Facebook. You can't find anything on the guy. Who is Brandon Carter? Well, the real Brandon Carter, please stand up, right? And so I made a funny about that. Little Miss Sharon says, I'm sure Nina said CP could slap on her son in the back seat. I know, and that's another thing. I mean, he did. He gave him a whack in his car seat, and what, he was 3? I mean, you just don't do that. There's no reason. It didn't teach him anything besides that Mr. Chris is a meanie, right? A little 3-year-old. He's a meanie. What a big bad monster. But that's what CP likes to be. You know? Oh, you've never saw the interview that Seth did with Nancy? Really? Yeah, Thomas, I was also looking for the one where he's standing outside and he learns for the first time that there was some CPS involvement. Some of the stuff was being confirmed. The news, I think it might have been Caitlin Quisenberry, had asked, or whoever was doing the interview, had asked if he was aware that there was abuse in the home. And he said, no, I just became aware of it. So again, you know, going back, even if I think about going back to that time, how it made me feel, I felt terrible for Seth, because that's his son. He should know. He should know what's going on, you know? Right, Mark. And he told Justin he was like the lead detective. I'm the only one on Sebastian's case. I work the case all the time. But then we find out later that he really wasn't working the case full time. He was in and out of court doing, you know, he's handling other things. You know, they're not going to just dedicate all of his time to Sebastian, but he should be dedicating a lot of it, because I'll tell you, Mark, when I was there, I mean, I got this feeling when I was watching Seth out in front of the courthouse the first time, or the sheriff's office, that there's nothing going on. They have plenty of time on their hands. They're just straight chilling. You know, the little cushy job over there. Hey, Animal. Hey, Groot. So, you know, they can dedicate some more time to that, and they need to, especially if they're not doing anything else. I mean, sitting with their thumb up their butt is what they're doing. No, he's not. Crazy Bird. He's not. Craddock's still not acting like 99% of sheriffs. It's normal for them to give updates, ask for help, identifying a car, informing the public Sebastian is still missing. I agree with that too, Crazy Bird. I just think that the detective also should have come out and said something. I mean, he likes to write things, but, you know, I'm not, you know, worried about his writing skills. right? Anybody can think of something or have you hell, Chat GPT could write us a nice little speech or something to say or something to write. He needs to come out and discuss the case like a professional would. But again, I'm just thinking back about how Sebastian must have felt because he wanted to tell what was happening to him, but he didn't, in my opinion, want anybody to be in trouble. He just wanted things to be normal. He didn't want to walk on eggshells every day. He didn't want to have to worry about mom, in my opinion, being abused by Mr. Chris, in my opinion. I know that's not been the most popular one, but that's my opinion. I believe that two things can be true at the same time. I can think that Chris and Katie are a perfect match. I can think that Katie is definitely abused by Chris, but I think Katie is so manipulative and has her own personality disorders herself to deal with and mental struggles, right? She does, guys. She really does, in my opinion. And we can see how it's played out. If any one of us looks at our own life and sees how things played out, we can also see patterns and things that we could have done better on, or I shouldn't have, stayed this long with someone or whatever. We all walk different paths, but I do believe that Sebastian was feeling all of this, internalizing all of this, and a lot of it didn't have to do with him. A lot of it wasn't his fault, but he was constantly being blamed for it. And that breaks my heart because it's not Sebastian's fault. Sebastian doesn't deserve this. Sebastian never deserved to have to feel like he was being sent away. In Chronicles of Olivia, Katie says that Sebastian used to like to dip behind walls and then he'd jump out to scare her. But part of me thinks that maybe the reason why Sebastian would dip behind walls is maybe he was trying to listen in to hear about what his fate might be. Maybe he was listening in to see what they were saying about him, or maybe where they were about to send him. And that really breaks my heart because, again, he's internalizing this and holding it in. And even though he knows that he can tell his dad and he can tell his grandma, because I think he was hinting a lot about it, and he can tell the teachers, it's still taking a huge risk because if Mr. Chris finds out, heaven forbid, because he's going to rage out, he's going to blow up, somebody might get hurt. Physically, mentally, emotionally, right? But Katie's right there. She's just as toxic. If Katie had tried to leave or left for a little while, but no, it was always Chris that left. It was always Chris that left. So it shows you that Katie was willing to stick around and put up with any of it. I'm not saying that I'm faulting her for that. And it is the most dangerous time for a woman when they're trying to get out of an abusive relationship, or a man for that matter. So, and I think also I saw your comment earlier, Detroit, when she was on the call with Heather PI. I think she was absolutely putting a show on for her husband and trying to impress him and trying to win his approval, because that's what people do, because narcissists never give it to you. It's always a chase. Some people like that chase. I, for one, I don't like it. I don't like to play games. I'm just regular. I mean, not hard to please. But also, I don't like playing those games in a relationship. You shouldn't have to do it. You shouldn't have to win anybody's approval. That was done when you got married, right? I mean, I would think. So she really does disassociate, Detroit. She is devoid of emotions because of her background, in my opinion, and I think she's had to do that to survive things. Dissociation is a huge part of survival. in trauma. It really is. It's how a lot of us get through it. And you can see it when Katie is being questioned or talking about her missing son, in my opinion.
And he's a teenager. And now I'm finding out a lot of this stuff. And I wish she had told me.
Nancy, if I can jump in for just a second there.
So, I mean, my heart just goes out to Seth. I wish he would have told me, right? Ugh. And again, my heart goes out to Sebastian, because he should never have to choose. He should never have to feel like he has to tell on anybody, especially not an adult. You shouldn't have to tell on an adult. Yeah. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to our roasting the rookie. So let me add this in. And this has a lot of good info, guys. So this is going to be, will the real rookie detective please stand up? Let me get this over here. Make sure you guys can see that. All right. Will the real Detective Carter please stand up? And I absolutely did 100% research and found out that I have the right guy in this video, because it's hard to find information on him. Again, that doesn't make me feel easy when any other case that I've ever covered, I can go and look up the detectives and find them on the internet, right? I can find their Facebooks, a lot of them. Hell, in Crystal McCrory Jones's case, I was appalled by what some of the police officers had public on their Facebook pages. It was wild. I was like, this is Cops Gone Wild, right? And, Louisiana edition. So, yeah, I was a little taken back by what I found. But here, there's no information about him. Only a couple of times when he did something positive. Like one example, and he got an award for it. He pulled over, or as a matter of fact, I'm not 100% sure if he got an award for this particular situation. But one of them was that there was a man that was having a mental health situation, and Detective Carter pulled him over, right? But he was just a deputy back then, and he pulls him over, and he realizes, oh my gosh, this guy hasn't been drinking. He is having some sort of a neurological situation go down, and so he got him safely to his family, and his family was very grateful. Obviously, they should be. Obviously, that's a great story. We also see him and Sheriff Craddock, and they are both a part of the Christmas Shop with a Cop at Walmart. And those are events that happen all over the United States. Like, I looked at pictures from all over the place and saw them. Usually the kids look happy. Sometimes the kids look a little unsure. The one that I found of Sheriff Snuggle Struggles was awkward, right? He's got kids of his own, and he's a dad, but yet he looked very awkward with these other kids, which always raises big red flags to me. Also, he's shopping with 2 little girls. Don't know if their parents know about the Snuggle Struggle comment. And then we have Carter, who was also a part of the Shop with a Cop, and I put it in there as well. So we'll just go over that.
Brandon Carter.
Don't give me this. Don't give me lip. That's what you get when you act a fool. Don't give me. I repeat. Will the real
Brandon Carter.
please stand up? Don't give me. Don't give me. Don't give me. Don't. We're gonna have a problem here. Don't give me. 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 Don't give me.
All right, guys. So this is Shop with the Cop plus Firefighter in Gallatin, Tennessee. This was in the Tennessean, December 4th, 2020. Okay, so this is the picture, and you can see it was during COVID. He's wearing the mask. Okay, and so this is the article, the write-up. Gallatin Police, Sumner County Sheriff's Office adds officer. Oh, this is when he was added onto the force. I'm sorry. So this was January 12th, 2020, or excuse me, January 12th, 2015. And it says the Sumner County Sheriff's Office and the Gallatin Police Department each have added a new officer fresh from the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. So 2015, and now it's been 11 years. So we'll just say that he has experience from this time. So Sumner County's new deputy is Michael Brandon Carter, a certified emergency medical technician, right, who worked for the county's EMS. And Chris Lopper has joined GPD, right? So Gallatin Police Department. And we got a lot of honks for Sebastian from Gallatin. They were beep, 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 beep for us. Really, really sweet. So big shout out to them. And thank you for just doing the right thing. And just being supportive. That was really nice for you guys to do that. So big shout out there. So we can see that he was added in the beginning of 2015. And it goes on to say that both completed Training Academy's basic police school in mid-December, according to news released from the state's Department of Commerce and Insurance. The school provided Carter and Lopper a rigorous 10-week course, delivering the technical and tactical training as well as the ethical and professional standards of law enforcement that are necessary for success, the release noted. Okay, so they went through a 10-week course, right? And they were trained tactically and they were also trained ethically, is states here. Now, a 10-week course doesn't seem like a long time. I don't know if they went like 5 days a week or how they did that. But I can say I've done similar training when it comes to being a CNA or certified nurse's assistant. So I don't remember exactly how long our training was, but it was a couple of months to get certified. And also there were EMTs and, you know, different people when we were doing our CPR certification and all of that kind of stuff. So I will say that, you know, these courses, in my opinion, which I've never taken one through a police department, but these courses can kind of get you ready, right, for the field. But whenever you get out in the field, that's where you're going to get your training and experience really is when you get out there. It's typically, I mean, that's why even in nursing we do clinicals because we actually go and do the job as if we're getting paid for it, right? And getting that on the job training is really important, in my opinion. So I think that's what they did. Yeah, only 10 weeks. So then they're put into the academy, or they're taken from the academy and then placed, you know, or hired on. But I do want to also say that I think that a lot of the training, again, these training that they do, I think that's why they put them like right in, you know, and they probably come straight from the academy. A lot of places, especially in smaller areas that maybe don't have the funding and things like that, they don't require any training. So just something to remember. All right, so moving along. So this is 2015. And then I asked Google, I'm like, so to become a detective in Sumner County, what are the, you know, qualifications? What do you need to be doing, right, in order to get that position? Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, so it does appear that he's had 11 years or maybe even 10, 9. I'm not sure. I think we get into it when he actually became the detective for the department. But there's others as well. Not many, but again, seems like he's the rookie. To become a detective in Sumner County, Tennessee, candidates typically must first be hired as police officers or deputies, requiring a high school diploma or a GED. A bachelor's is preferred. Tennessee POST certification and experience. Promotion to detective usually requires several years of patrol experience, specialized training in investigations, and in-house agency promotions. So again, I believe that this probably pertains, or this is probably how Brandon Carter moved up, was in-house promotion, right? And then he had years of patrol experience, and he also had some sort of specialized training, I would imagine, but I don't know. I don't know if they just promoted him because they needed a detective or what. I don't know how he would be talented or experienced or any of that. Again, he's a rookie. So why is he given one of their biggest cases, their only case that's still open? And we're going to get more into that as well. Okay, key requirements and steps. So initial requirements, you got to be over 21, you got to be a US citizen, you got to possess your driver's license, and you have to pass a background check, physical and psychological evaluations, okay? Also, education, you just need to have your GED or high school diploma. An associate or bachelor's degree in criminal justice or related field is highly preferred for advancement, right? But I don't know if he received that either, because it just says that he went from the 10-week course and he became like a beat cop, or he was out on the street. So I'm not sure about him getting any kind of training. Now he could have done continuing education. I'm not going to discount that. But today, for all intents and purposes, that's all I have on his training. And then the certification would be graduation from POST, Approved Law Enforcement Academy in Tennessee, right? And that's the one that he graduated from, to the best of my knowledge. All right, so they want experience. Several years of experience as a patrol officer is generally required before eligible for a promotion to detective or investigator position. So did Brandon Carter have a passion for what he was doing, and he just went through the several years of experience as a patrol officer? Did he decide that he wanted to work his way up to that promotion for detective investigator? That position, is that something that he was just chosen for? What was the reason, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out. Because in my opinion, he's not hungry enough. He's just not hungry enough. He doesn't want it bad enough. He hasn't tried hard enough. As Seth put it at the rally, they're not giving Sebastian what he deserves. They're not giving him the time, the effort, any of it. Because someone should have already been charged for abuse. Chris, that's you. And then they should have been taken in for questioning. Because I bet you if Chris was facing jail time for abusing Sebastian, he would probably flip on Katie on a dime. Just like one of them zero-turn motors, Chris. All right. Let's see. So, experience we went over. Specialized training. So, detectives often receive training in criminal investigation techniques. I would hope so. Evidence processing. Looks like he missed that day. And interview/interrogation tactics. Where are those at? So you guys mean to tell me that you train your detectives to interview and interrogate and you give them tactics, but they didn't implement those in Sebastian Rogers' case. They also let the crime scene just be trampled through. Katie said they were looking all over. Everybody was all over the house. That's what she said. We also know that they let Seth come in. And no offense if Seth's still here, but I know your feelings on that. And I think that we agree that that should have never happened. That they were absolutely being careless. And how were you supposed to know that? I wouldn't know that. I mean, unless I was in true crime. But I mean that's just something that you learn, is that you have to preserve that crime scene, and it looks like that's the specialized training. Now, did he receive specialized training? I don't know, but it says they often receive it in Tennessee. For the most up-to-date requirements, it's recommended to review the specific hiring guidelines for Sumner County Sheriff's Office or local departments within the county. So what did I do? I went ahead and swiped that little bit at the end, and I looked it up, pressed the lookup button. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee, requires deputy candidates to be at least 21. All right, we already know that. Have a GED or a diploma from high school. You got to have a driver's license, and if applicable, an honorable military discharge. So they do like to hire veterans, which is fantastic. They usually do and should. The hiring process includes a written civil service test, physical/psychological exams, right? Just make sure that you're good to go mentally, physically. A polygraph, which we've gone over that. Again, if you want to be a part of the TBI, we know that you have to take a polygraph test first. If you want to work for the FBI, they are going to hook your ass up to a polygraph test, and they're going to ask you a series of questions, just like they would anyone else that they're giving that test to. And you have to go through a background check. So this is the criteria specifically for Sumner County. And moving right along. Now, they give specific guidelines here. And also at the end, which I didn't include it, but you can also find more information directly from them, inquire with them, fill out that application, right? Like they were telling Seth to do, which I think it's a taunt. I think it's rude. AF, I think it's something that they're being a smart ass. Like I called them as smart asses. Thank you, Mark Klein. Oh, that's sweet of you. Thanks. So Sumner County Sheriff's Office specific guidelines are physical and mental. You have to pass the physical exam, physical fitness qualification, and a psychological exam, right? So they want you to be physically fit, right, to do this. And obviously that is probably because you're going to be on the scene. You'll be moving around. You're not really supposed to be behind a desk all day. Maybe you should go out there and search and things like that, right? So background, you must pass a comprehensive background investigation. Rules, the candidates must be willing to work shifts, weekends, and holidays, right? And I will tell you, my hat's off to the boys in blue. They do work 24/7, 365. They are working holidays when we're home with our families. So I am grateful for that. So just a quick disclaimer there. Appearance, they have to have specific policies prohibit beards, goatees. Really? Because your boy Craddock's got a little goat. And for most roles with strict regulations of hair length, right? But they usually want you to look well groomed, right? You can't have like a big long beard. So either way, it's kind of military like. And then correctional officers, they require 18, U.S. citizen, no convictions or felonies or crimes involving force, theft, dishonesty, or drugs, right? So pretty straightforward rules set forth, and not anything that you wouldn't expect, right? It just seems pretty cut and dry. But again, what qualifications does Brandon Carter have to head up our Sebastian Rogers, who's been missing for 2 years? Does he have what it takes? Because I'm not seeing it. He's not giving what he should. All right. So the Office of Professional Accountability. I know some people have talked about this. I know I'm not the only one. This isn't the first time I've heard about this office, but this is a place that people can go and they can hold the it's kind of like internal affairs for Sumner County Sheriff's Office, right? But it's where you can hold the professionals accountable if you feel that they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, or if they're not upholding the letter of the law as they should, whatever. So, professional accountability mission, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office strives to provide exceptional public service. Really? Really? I don't think so, but all right. Exceptional public service to the citizens of Sumner County. Our team is carefully selected and trained to deliver quality service to the community. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office is genuinely interested in recognizing employees who are committed to this goal. Additionally, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office focuses on continuous improvement when team members fail to meet desired standards or face accusations of wrongdoing, like your boy, who doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself, who likes to wave them around and make whatever gesture, a thumbs up, a bird, who knows. Acting very, very disrespectful and rude and unprofessional, in my opinion. All right, sorry, Django just jumped off the couch. All right, so as a citizen, so now this is why this is probably not where any of us could go. Like, I'm not going to go here. I'm just going to call. But I think that this is where only citizens are allowed to make these type of complaints, I'll say. Because it says, as a citizen, your participation is welcome and essential to ensure that outstanding employees are recognized for their performance and that employee misconduct does not go unreported. All compliments, questions, or concerns are reviewed by the Sheriff's Office command staff. Okay, and we're going to find out who the Sheriff's Office command staff is. And, you know, if you guys want to guess in the chat, feel free to do that. It's an easy answer. It's an easy guess where the complaints will be filed to, and you know, it's even more scary to think that there's nowhere to report their behaviors, right? But then again, there's another person that's higher up than them. So you kind of just have to go up the chain of command in that regard. But again, give us something to praise you for. Find Sebastian Rogers. So if you want to commend a team member, there's this long laundry list of shit that you could do, right? And I urge you, if you have a good experience, please, you know, let them know about it. But in the same way, they need to be held accountable in both ways. Negative consequences, positive consequences. Now, this is a lot shorter, of course, because, you know, they don't care about if you have a complaint. They want the compliments. They want compliments over complaints, and that is obvious here. Express concerns about employee performance. If a citizen has a concern about Sumner County Sheriff's Office employee, they can contact the on-duty supervisor. Contact may be made in person, by phone, email, or U.S. mail. Concerned citizens may also contact a member of the command staff through one of their links below. Allegations of official misconduct that are proven to be untrue may be prosecuted for filing a false complaint and or making false statements to a member of this agency. Okay, so that's a little disclaimer in there that if you're, you know, making a false allegation, then you can get in trouble, which you shouldn't be able to just lie on anybody. You should be in trouble for lying on anybody and everybody, I guess, especially a police officer. But again, they give a little tiny short of how you can do that, or you can, you know, talk to the command staff, which again, we're going to get into. So Important information when making a report. We encourage feedback, and there are instances where a citizen may feel the need to be anonymous when communicating with the sheriff's office. We strongly encourage citizens to leave contact information and not make anonymous entries. Whether the information shared with us is good or bad, our command staff wants to be able to contact you for a follow-up. Sometimes it is not possible to deal with a situation without speaking to you about your concern or question. I can understand that. Makes sense. Contacting the appropriate division. Please click the proper division commander's name with whom you wish to submit an inquiry. Right? So they're going to give some options here, and I will show them to you. So the command staff, spoiler, is complaints going straight to the dirty sheriff, right? Our little snuggy shrugs. Gonna go straight to Snugs, right? Sheriff Craddock, you click these, right? These are hyperlinks. Sheriff Deputy Tommy Greer. Now, he's also been listed on many of the recent press releases. Thomas Greer, right? And I haven't had a chance to get into his situation yet, right? But I mean, it's good to know who is in charge of this shit show. So we have here Detective Training and Office Professional Accountability Divisions, which is Lance Corporal Hampton, right? So you can click on any of these hyperlinks, guys, and it's going to bring you to the following forms. And it'll, direct each inquiry accordingly. So when I clicked on his, but if you click on Craddock's, he'll come up with he'll be part of the staff, the command staff, and so will Thomas Greer. So here's the form, and you can, just choose by selecting the type of submission you're going to make, right? Which division you're inquiring about, your name, right? They want to know your contact information as it's stated previously. They want to know your address and your email address. And then they're going to ask you again, because you are held to being honest here. So you need your phone number, and they're asking you to please tell them about your situation, your concern, and then you acknowledge that the information provided in this statement is true and factual to the best of your knowledge and will become public record once filed. I understand if I file a complaint, it's unlawful and against the policy of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office for anyone to retaliate against me for the filing of this complaint. I further recognize that any intentionally false statements or intentional misinformation is subject to TCA 39-16-502, which I believe that means that your ass is in trouble for lying on a police officer, right? So then you click the agree button or a checkbox, and then you have to sign it. You have to leave your John Hancock, Herbie Hancock. Use your mouse or finger to draw, right? So you just do your little thing, submit the form. But yeah, this is the official way to voice a citizen's complaint. But again, it just goes straight to Craddock or his buddy. And then I don't know about that Commander Lance Corporal dude. We haven't figured him out yet. Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee, Criminal Investigations Division. Okay, so there's the separate link. Excuse me, sorry guys. There's a separate link for Criminal Investigations Division, which if you click on that puppy, it's going to bring you to the Sumner, it's going to bring you to their kind of mission statement or more about them. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation Division, which is CID, is comprised of several talented detectives who investigate a variety of crimes. Detectives often work with other local, state, and federal jurisdictions to combat crime and ensure the safety of the citizens of Sumner County. On average, the Criminal Investigation Division conducts around 1,000 investigations a year. Right? So, a little bit about that. It'll bring you down to here after that statement. And you can click on these. These are hyperlinks. You can go home. You can go to jail or inmate info, resources, contact us, divisions, programs. But if you click open cases, you click on that one, it's going to bring you to Sebastian Rogers' case. Open cases. Amber Alert, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, Sumner County, Tennessee. He's the first case listed. There's 4 cases total. 4 cases total. Sebastian is number 1. But there's only, again, 4. So if you scroll down, oh, okay. You guys will have to watch the one with the commentary to see that, but or excuse me, without the commentary. So if you go to open cases, the Amber Alert, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, Sumner County, Tennessee, Amber Alert, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And this is exactly what you see. And then you can go back to the list of 4. There's only 1 page. Amber Alert, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, age 15, male, white, with brown hair, brown eyes, 5'5", 120 pounds at the time he went missing, and also gives the NCIC number, which is M7577530007. Right? So all of the information. Now, it says missing from Sumner County, Tennessee, missing since February 26, 2024, when he was reported. An Amber Alert has been issued on behalf of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Sebastian is 15 years old. He's a white male he was 5'5" tall when he went missing, right? 120 pounds, with brown hair, brownish blonde, right? But he also has hazel eyes, because we've seen Sebastian's eyes have different colors, but a lot of the pictures have brown. Sebastian was last seen on February 26, 2024 in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Sebastian was last seen wearing black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and glasses. Sebastian has a medical condition that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. If you see Sebastian or have any questions or information regarding his whereabouts, please contact the Sumner County Emergency Communications Center, 615-451-3838 or 1-800-TBI-FIND. This is the same thing that's on his official TBI flyer. But again, it's under open cases in the CID, which is the Criminal Investigations Division. Tell me again that this is not a criminal investigation. Hello? All right, sorry, just had to point that out. Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, we have Bobby Simmons listed. And then we also have Sumner County Sheriff's Office Detective B. Carter, 615-451-3838. So just the generic number, no way to get the head guy on the case, right? But he's in red, Bobby Simmons is in black. And here's Sebastian's Amber Alert flyer with his big smile, wearing his Optimism t-shirt. Open cases in the criminal division. So will the real Detective Carter please stand up? Please speak up. Please stand up for Sebastian. Right? Brandon Carter, rookie detective who botched Sebastian's investigation. Here it is, folks. Right here. Right here. And he's definitely not this guy, right? This guy over here is Snuggle Struggles. But he goes ahead and does this. He's definitely not these guys, right? He's not black. He's not this guy, because this guy also popped up for him too. Neither one of these guys. Nope. Nope. All right. So September 4th, 2025, this is what he writes. This is a statement, but he can't come out and speak. Sebastian's disappearance has deeply affected our community, said Carter. We understand the desire for the community to want answers and for us to explain every step of the investigation, but we can't release all the case details without risking the integrity of the investigation. We ask that the community refocus on what matters most, and that's finding Sebastian. Okay, well, where can we look for him? Staying united and supportive will bring us closer to the answers that we are looking for. Okay, how so though? Because it's not like you're trying to get people out there to help search. It's not like you're organizing searches. You know? You're not. They tell us to promptly share tips and information with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI is the best way to help find Sebastian. Okay, well, again, you're not giving us much to work with. You haven't given us a vehicle description. You haven't given us a license plate number. You haven't given us a direction on where Sebastian might have gone. As a matter of fact, you keep saying that you don't know how, because there's no evidence of how he got out of the house. So that's telling me that you might not even believe that he made it home. Again, not great investigative work. If you have any information concerning the whereabouts of Sebastian Rogers, please contact the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, right? So that's what he says. That's what he says, right? And there's Sebastian's army. The Sumner County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee, Criminal Investigations Division, led by Captain Lance Hampton, manages complex investigations, including cases like the Sebastian Rogers disappearance. Detectives handle felonies, missing persons, and specialized cases, often working with state authorities. Key personnel include Detective Eric Craddock. And this is what I pulled up just today. Right? Just today. So Captain Lance Hampton is over all of them, according to this. Key personnel and contact information, Sumner County, Tennessee. We have Criminal Investigations Division, as we said, CID. So this is absolutely a criminal investigation. And he heads up the department, Captain Lance Hampton, L. Hampton at Sumner County Sheriff's, Tennessee.gov. Right? And then we have Sheriff Eric Craddock. We have the SO Registry Inquiries. And then that's the address and phone number. Missing persons cases, right? Dedicated detectives have been investigating the disappearance of 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers since February of 2024, involving state authorities. Criminal investigations, detectives including Chris Burgett and David Langston worked on a 2025 aggravated assault case in collaboration with the district attorney and the TBI. Well, where's the district attorney at in Sebastian's case? Specialized investigations. This department has investigated incidents involving illegal activities such as cockfighting, which is fighting roosters, for those of you who are unfamiliar. Okay, so they're more worried about that than finding a missing child, apparently. Anyway, as we go on, there's just a little bit more stuff here. Will the real Brandon Carter please stand up? This is where he was giving somebody a DUI checkpoint. Right? That is Brandon Carter, right? All these other ones are just imitating, right? The real Brandon Carter is right here, right? And it says Detective Brandon Carter participates in the Shop with a Cop and Firefighter program at Walmart in Gallatin on Wednesday morning, December 2nd. Okay, so you just need to know who we're dealing with here, and it's definitely not the other. And we all need to stand up for Sebastian. So that's my video. If you want to hear the Slim Shady mashup, definitely go over there and check it out. But I did want to read over all of that research with you guys, because I think it's important to realize that even though Detective Carter says that he is working Sebastian's case 24/7, he's also dealing with felonies, right? He's also dealing with other issues that may require investigating. And so he's not only working Sebastian's case 24/7 like he said he was, in my opinion. So, and you know, I think Sonny Weatherford was checked out. I think he was letting the young bucks take over, just like he thought they would, just like he knew they would, right? So he was like, I'm retiring. And I think that he failed Sebastian, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to fault a man who isn't here to defend himself. I'm just saying that's my opinion. I think the entire department has failed Sebastian. I think Sebastian has been failed multiple times during this so-called investigation. 2 years with no answers. Doesn't seem like they are much further than when they began, which I know that they are. In my opinion, they are. But I also don't understand why there has been no arrests when it comes to what Sebastian had to endure. At the very least, I think they could use his counselor as a voice, the notes that she took as a voice. I think that could really get the ball rolling. I think that if they were to publicly clear Sebastian's father, it would make Chris and Katie talk. And I think none of those strategies have been put in place, and I think they needed to be. And I think it might be a little too late to do the right thing now, but it couldn't hurt to at least try it. Just like, again, giving the public details in order for us to help find Sebastian, because if we don't know where we're looking, then how can we help? If we don't know where to look, how do we do independent searches? I mean, what areas do we go to? Crazy Bird says, correct, lady. It's been stated in Crimes in Sumner County that Carter was doing stuff on other cases. Yeah, he absolutely has. And you know, I never thought I always knew that was a lie. I always knew that was a lie. Because there's no way that they're just paying him to sit in his office all day and twiddle his thumbs about Sebastian. Right? They're not, they don't have the budget for that. You know, that they need somebody who can work, and obviously that he's not putting enough effort in. In my opinion, maybe he needs some time management classes or something, because again, there's not a lot going on, guys. And also, I wonder if I can let me see if I can't get that email. What did I do with my other phone? Oh, there it is. Okay. So let me see if I can't show you this really quick before we get off here. And thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I haven't been reading chat a lot. I just wanted to get through all of that reading. All right. So let me see if I can send this to myself. This is like a really quick link. I could drop it in the chat too. That'll just show you the Criminal Investigations Division. You can see it. You can go there yourself even and look it up, research it. Because I think this is a very important thing for us to be examining and for all of us to be focusing on. Because again, 2 years is too long, and there's no reason for this to continue on and on. If they're not doing their job, then we need to hold them accountable, in my opinion. All right, so let me send this link to me. All right. And then I'll pull it up over here. Okay. So just bear with me a second here. All right. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so I just want to show you guys really quick how I'm navigating this. So if you go to this link, and I'll copy it for you guys and put it in the chat so you guys have it. And again, if you guys want to look into this further, please do. All right. So it brings you here, and then it's got all the tabs up here, right? Home division, blah, 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 all the things we just went over. But if we click on open cases, it's going to pull up Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, first one, right? And then it's going to give us his Amber Alert information. There's also an Anthony Martin Driver that I think a lot of us have heard about. Also, Elizabeth Diane Vaughn, endangered, missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee, since it looks like 1992. June 8th of 1992, really pretty red hair. And then also there's Brandy Jan Thomerson, endangered, missing from Portland, Tennessee. And it appears that she has been missing since, let's just pull her up really quick just so I could tell you guys when she went missing. 2003. So there's 4 cases that they're responsible for in the criminal investigation division, open cases. First one, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And again, if we hit more on Sebastian, it'll bring up everything that I read to you off of his flyer. Right. And then if I go into Anthony Martin Driver, it's going to tell you everything about him. Right. Again, Westmoreland, Tennessee, 2018. They even found him, right? Circumstances and autopsy results of Mr. Anthony Martin Driver indicate foul play, but they're not willing to go there with Sebastian. Interesting. So these are the big cases that they are responsible for, and they have all of these people overseeing them, yet nothing has been done. And again, I just have to point out that they don't have a whole lot going on. They just don't. They just don't. So why haven't they done more digging? Why haven't they found Sebastian? So I just encourage you guys to look that kind of stuff up and get to know who we're dealing with here, because again, I can't say for 100% certainty that we are dealing with corruption, but I have a really sick feeling that something is completely wrong there. Detroit, I agree. They don't want any outside help because they will find out how bad they screwed this case up, in my opinion. I think so too. I think that that's why they're not giving the case over to someone who absolutely deserves to have the case and to take a second look at it, right? Especially because a lot of that stuff that they caught on the Faro camera, they can go back to the crime scene that way as well. Now, that was done on day 5. I think that was a little bit too late. Again, a lot of it was, but I think they did screw it up in the beginning, big time. And you can't go back, unfortunately. Good night, Witchy Mama. Good to have you here. I know I've been on live for a while. Oh, thank you, Bo. Yeah, I've been kind of working on all of this and just trying to figure out, because again, I'm not sticking up for Sheriff Craddock, but I think that he was catching a lot of the heat. I think a lot of the heat is on him for being such a dirty sheriff, for, just getting handed the position. But then it looks like everybody kind of gets that. Not to say that they weren't promoted from within or anything like that, but again, why is Brandon Carter the one who is handling Sebastian's investigation when he has no experience in it, in my opinion? Because he wasn't around back when these cases were he hasn't solved anything, right? 2018 is Anthony Martin Driver, and then we have 2004, I believe, or 2003, and then 1992. He wasn't around back then, right? These are old, cold cases. I hope that they're found. I hope their families get justice. I hope they get justice. But again, even when they found Martin Driver, they still didn't charge anyone. So what are they waiting for? Why haven't they charged anyone in hurting Sebastian or abusing Sebastian? I mean, these are things that have been admitted to. It wasn't like Smiley was interrogating the Proudfeet. She was just simply asking them questions. So what the hell is up? So we need to apply some more pressure. Oh, really? Oh, Crazy Bird says they cracked a big trafficking ring a few weeks ago. I fell out of my chair laughing because the pics of the arrested guys were not of themselves in Proudfoot. Oh, no. I did not see that. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking there's got to be more to it. There's definitely got to be more to it. You know, just the way that they've handled everything. And everything's just internal, and they're not they haven't done anything to advance the case, in my opinion. Commander Alpha Turkey says sometimes when you start looking into the officers' past interactions, things are found out, patterns, corruption, etc. Yeah, I agree with that, Commander Turkey, and that's another thing. I mean, with Brandon Carter, it seems like he has had positive feedback when he was a deputy, but does that make him a good detective? Right? They're basically letting him have a crack at one of their biggest cases. The first case on their list. I mean, it should be their biggest case. It's a 15-year-old with autism, a 15-year-old who has a rare chromosome deletion, who it does appear that there was a lot of issues in the family, and yet they're not even seeing those patterns and how corrupt that is, for Sebastian. So I agree. Liberty says Carter has zero history at all of any actual homicide or missing cases solved. Right, exactly. That's why I was like, he's a rookie. What are they doing giving him Sebastian's case to begin with? Oh, they are chicken shits. They are. Oh no. Crazy Bird says babysitter unalived a friend of mine's niece's baby. Babysitter walked away with no charges so far 2 years ago. Autopsy said, oh wow. Red rum. Oh my goodness. Oh, Crazy Bird. That's the thing. It just seems like children are not of value as they should be. Bo says, I agree, Liberty. Cheryl says Smiley wasn't even prepared for what transpired. That's true. It was impromptu and live. She didn't have prepared questions and just went with her intuition, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. And I know the chat was asking a lot of questions as well, but I think Smiley was really keeping with the flow of her own, conversation with the Proudfeet. I agree. And a lot of times too, because Chris just loves to hear himself talk, right? That he's just going on, and it's like you don't even have to ask him very much, and he's just going to give a whole bunch out. you know. But when you do ask him a specific question, he thinks it's fun because he has control of the ball, right? And so then he can play his little games. And there's nothing, you know, funny about it, and there is no game. It's sad, you know, but he does that. It's like, you know, if you ask him a question, then he's going to say, "Oh, I can't divulge that information." Right? But if you just sit back and let him talk, then he'll just tell you everything about it and then some. So, yeah, Bo, just that's devastating. Police departments are trained for cases like this. Sheriff's departments are different than police departments. And police train at Quantico. Sheriff's departments do not. Well, and I think that I was wondering if they had any training in any type of gathering of forensics, because they never even gathered carpet fibers to the best of my knowledge, and Sebastian has carpet in his bedroom, is what Chris and Katie said. So they should have been gathering carpet fibers from where he went missing from to see whose DNA was in the room, to see if they couldn't pick up on any outside DNA or anybody's, you know, foreign anything, right? To rule out anybody else. So it's it's unfortunate, in my opinion, that the proper steps, the proper protocol, the procedures were not carried out as they should have been. And I truly believe that it comes down to Chris and Katie duping Sheriff Craddock and duping Ken Widener. And I know there's been a lot of talk about how everything transpired with Katie and her leaving that morning, and a lot of it does point to that there could have been a handoff instead of some, you know, if something happened overnight, Katie could have just as easily brought Sebastian and handed him off to someone just as easily. So, and we're going to get more into some of the speculation and some of the hearsay, but I think it's important to discuss it. So, and Detroit says then the Terry Lynn call happened with CP and lied, said it was his daughter. Such a liar. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that absolutely happened, right? Where Chris said it's my daughter, and then Katie also lied for him and said, "Yes, he talks to his daughter." She called him a daughter. He talks to his daughter, so that's a lie. We'll just clear the air about that too. Well, it was Terry Lynn, right? Because he ended up going on live with her later that night after he got off with Smiley, and they were on for like 4 hours. And the shit ass still wasn't done talking. He was just squawking away all night with Terry Lynn, hitting on her, and she's hitting on him. Oh, and I have a blooper reel to share with you guys as well of the the search, because we found some weird items in the woods there. And the forensics on the vehicle, I'm not sure about. I mean, we know that they took digital, you know, like phones, right? But we don't know if there was even any of that done. What about Chris's camper? It was still sitting in Memphis. You would think he would have hurried up and grabbed that, especially since he didn't get back till about 2:00. I mean, there's just so much that doesn't add up. And I was also looking into, you know, the situation with Dara. And I know we talked about Dara before, and we did a deep dive, and her husband was in trouble for fraud, right? Because they looked into her after the fact. So what's with the legs taking out the garbage? I don't even know if he took out the garbage. So, yeah, Liberty, it's different in all places. You have to just research the specific area. It's going to be different across the board. He wanted to meet with her in person. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought they were going to meet in person. You know, I was ready to see like a, you know, a live a live panel, like actual live panel. Um uh, so they didn't even do forensics in the vehicle. I mean, I don't think they did, Sasha. I've never heard or seen any proof of them ever doing that. And anything they ever come out with is like, we can't tell you anything. We're not going to spoil the investigation by telling the public anything. I mean, they're going to obviously do that forever if we let them. I mean, it's been 2 years. What kind of things can they do? What can I guess what I should say is, as far as the vehicles, the campers, the work van, right? Just everything. Those all should have been processed, in my opinion. If anything, just for good measure. But again, Katie was saying how they relied on the 360 app, which can be manipulated. We know that. So, yeah, I don't know. Uh, yeah, they're different. They're all different. Who's the other sister? CP's other sister, the one we can't mention for some reason. Oh, Cassie. He's got Cassie and then Melissa, to the best of my knowledge. So, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I just don't know that it's the public's problem that the sheriff's office has issues. If they know they have a hard time with it, then they need to do something different. And I think that's really what everybody was asking for, is just to do something different. Don't continue on the same, you know, with the same old, you know, because again, if we let them, they're going to continue to just pass us off every time they get a chance. I mean, every release they've put out has given us no information or no indication on where to look for Sebastian or any of that. So, yeah, and I do think there's a big lack of training. I think that's what I'm wondering about, if you know, I mean, I'm posing the question, is Detective Carter, this guy that you can't even find online, barely, is he qualified to be a detective, the lead detective in Sebastian's case? And I also just wanted to disprove some of the rumors that were going around, because, you know, some people are thinking that Detective Carter is one person and he's not. They got it wrong. And again, it's very easy because it's hard to find information on this guy. And there's other Detective Carters out there, Brandon Carter. Those are very it's a common name, both a first and last. But also his full name is Michael Brandon Carter. So it's not just Brandon. And then he goes by B. Yeah, something tells me. And he has no personal skills. The video that I have of him is him talking to the woman's family member who helped the man, right? And she's praising him, and he doesn't even know, he doesn't say anything to her besides thank you. I mean, he's very socially awkward. There's just something that's not right with him, you know. And again, when at first glance, I see that he's been given awards a couple of times for good work, but that doesn't mean that he's qualified to be a detective in Sebastian's case. And maybe this is just something that's not going to be good enough for me ever, until he's found, until he gets justice. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I do think that it's time for a major shift and a major change in a more positive direction. So, oh, congratulations, Detroit. That's awesome. That is awesome. Let me highlight that comment. My nephew is going to do his internship at Quantico. That is amazing. Oh, I hope he enjoys it. I hope he learns a lot. That's great. It takes a special kind of person, guys. It's like that in many of these professions. And, you know, again, I'm just questioning whether this guy's qualified or not. So to end the live, I'm gonna go ahead and play out that song that I played for, or that I made up for Brandon Carter. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will be back to see you guys tomorrow afternoon. I want to do 2 lives tomorrow, so I'm going to be planning for those. So please stay tuned, hit your notifications, and I appreciate you guys having the conversation with me. I hope that you keep the conversation and the research going. I think it's really important to remember that no matter what Chris Proudfoot tells you, this is absolutely a criminal investigation. But I think that we need to keep the pressure on. I think that if we continue to apply the pressure for change, that's the only way that change will happen. We have to do our part. So I hope we can do that. And I hope that maybe, you know, one day they'll find it in their hearts to give us some direction on where we can look for Sebastian so we can help. Some indication of where he might be would be most helpful. And again, I can't force them to do anything that they don't want to do. But I would hope that they would do the right thing. I would hope that they would think about it if it was their son or daughter or their family member. So, again, will the real rookie detective Carter please stand up, right? And again, I just want to reiterate that we did find the right guy. This research is solid. So, all right, guys, thank you all so much for being here. I love you very much, and I will see you all next time.
Brandon Carter.
Don't give me this. Don't give me lip. That's what you get when you act a fool. Don't give me. I repeat. Will the real
Brandon Carter.
please stand up? Don't give me. Don't give me. Don't give me. Don't. We're gonna have a problem here. Don't give me. 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 Don't give me this. Don't give me lip. That's what you get. Don't give me this. Don't give me lip. Don't give me. That's what you get when you act a fool. Don't give me. 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 Don't give me this. Don't give me lip. That's what you get when you act a fool. Don't give me. 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 Don't give me this. Half of you critics can't even stomach me, let alone stand me. Don't get, don't get, don't get, don't get, it just might be the next best thing, but not quite me. Don't get, don't get. I just get on the mic and spit it, and I don't gotta be false or sugarcoated at all. Don't give me this, don't give me lip, don't give me, that's what you get when you act a fool. Don't give me, don't give me, don't give me, don't give me. So will the
Brandon Carter.
please stand up? Don't give me.
Brandon Carter.
Ladies are just ladies, don't give me. Let's all stand up.
I saved enough to take my mom on a cruise. What's all this?
It's Wells Fargo. They like to celebrate